Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Here it is. Swing and a ground ball there. It's going to win it for the Red Sox. Long comes around third. He scores easily. Romy Gonzalez, the hero. And in 12 innings, the Red Sox beat the Rays and hits it high, hits it deep towards the ocean. Gone. Dodgers take the lead and a mammoth home run from Shohei Ohtani.
Right circle, drops, Coyle. Back into the slot, McAvoy shoots, he scores! Charlie McAvoy sizzles it home. His first in the playoffs. Bruins 2, Panthers 1. Back to McDavid, top of the circle. Strikes on a one-timer and score. 1-0 Edmonton, power play goal. Leon Draisaitl set up by McDavid. They're on the board. So are the Oilers. It's 1-0 in Game 4. And now Clark comes up with a steal. Clark thought about pulling up from 3. Will dip inside and lay it in. There are the first points in the WNBA career of Caitlin Clark.
6:45 to go. Turner, 16-foot jump shot is no good. Hartenstein rebound, quick outlet. Hart has Brunson on his right, spotting up. Fires the 3 and knocks it down. 31 for Jalen Brunson. Knicks lead is back up to 16, 80-64.
4 on the shot clock. Top of the key, Jokic. Jokic, 3. Yeah! Denver leads at 106-92.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590 ESPN Radio, ESPN Tri-Cities, and live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lula here from the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill from the Pillar exterior stage. We've got a Wednesday morning for you. How you doing, DB?
I'm good. It's always a crapshoot. No, I'm good. Shane, remember those buttons that we figured out yesterday that we practiced with? Did you label those?
I did, yes. Need a little bit more control.
Hey, I kind of like that right there. Thank you.
Okay.
Shane and I did some homework. Figured out what some buttons do.
Ooh, I like buttons.
Shane buttons.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, it was it's a good morning. It's Wednesday. I'm going to watch a little more high school baseball.
Yeah?
That's about it.
What'd you go out and see last night?
Last night was I was at Papio South, their lush facility.
Okay.
Watching the Colonels and DC West.
Okay.
Very rowdy bunch from DC West.
I could see that.
Their student section gets it in.
Getting after it.
You don't see that a ton in baseball.
No, but when you do, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's good crowd. So I don't know, make some rounds today.
Did you see I think our team was, I mean, I know they were everywhere, but did you see the crowds out at soccer?
Oh,
unbelievable.
So I said this, maybe you guys laugh at me. The environment for state soccer belongs in the discussion with wrestling.
Ooh, okay.
It is legit. It is.
Yeah, so the thing I struggle with wrestling is there's so many things.
Careful.
No, there's just so many things going on at once.
You'll be all right.
That not everybody's cheering for the same thing.
Yeah, no, I get you.
That's the only, like, atmospherically, that's the thing that I have.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's something different when everybody's, like, looking in the same direction and reacting to the same things.
Kind of like them all, been a part of them. I wouldn't say them all. I mean, basketball. Yeah, probably them all. I was thinking about going to Columbus for golf.
Oh, really?
I thought about it, but not every. I don't think I had to ask Stu. I don't think all classes are at the same course.
Oh, so that'd be kind of.
I wish they I wish they were, but that may be a long day.
Yeah, it's also probably hard to get everybody in at that point.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, I never considered going out to see state golf. That's not something that crossed my mind.
I'm seriously contemplating it.
I'd go watch state tennis.
Oh yeah,
I have before. I went when I was in high school. I went because we had a kid that was at Miller North that was really good. I think he ended up playing at Notre Dame. Shiva Parbu. I don't know if you remember him. He was
friend of yours.
Well, a friend of the family.
Just asking.
Hello, friend.
Yeah, we see him at the monthly meetings still, but
over at the temple when your dad's cooking.
Yeah, over at Cafe.
Yeah, by the way, man, what's the haps on the tandoori, man? We in or not?
Hey, whenever you want. It's every Saturday, Sunday. I think Saturday is open to the public.
I think for your nonsense yesterday, you probably owe me. Well, you do owe me a meal, but you probably owe me like a good salad too for being such a lousy friend.
Well, okay.
You framed the question horribly. The whole thing took off all day.
It was a leading question. That's on me.
It was horrible.
That's on me.
That's a beautiful question.
No. Talk about him as he was on Husker Sports Nightly last night.
Absolutely. Listen,
I ain't get any cut ups from Shane, so that's always frustrating.
I can't even answer that. Like,
Shane, do we have those?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, gosh, I want to be like Coach. I should just put you on the spot, but I'm not going to. You put me on the spot. Yeah, it was horrible, and I don't believe. How many people voted?
I can go check right now.
Yeah, because I think 90% of those people were lying.
So that's what you text me. You go, hey, those people are not telling the truth.
They're not.
Somebody's wiped off something.
Listen, just yesterday
at some point,
middle of the day. Hey, have you ever wiped down any meat? Yeah, I ordered some hamburgers and wanted no pickles or didn't want what was on there. Took a napkin, wiped the whole thing down, ate the burger. I'm not alone. This is a total Michael Jackson moment.
So
I got Christine. She's usually like ride or die.
Yeah.
She's like, take the L. I'm like, take the L. These people they're not telling the truth.
So we had 740 votes.
Yeah.
90.4% said no.
It's an absolute.
And you're saying how many of those people are lying?
Half.
At least half.
Yeah.
So you think it's closer to 50-50?
Listen, you yourself, you ever got a brat, a hot dog, something, and you wiped it down with a napkin because of excess something?
So I haven't, and I told you this yesterday. It's not that. So two things. Number one, this did take off on me in a way that I was not anticipating. I know you don't believe me, but I really did not anticipate.
I knew I shouldn't have said it out loud the minute I said it.
So the thing that got me, that like sent me, was the visual of you like
picking up 2 meatballs and putting them in my napkin.
Yeah, like you're washing golf balls.
That's what I was doing.
Like that's, but the visual.
That's funny too.
The visual of like, because I go from he's wiping off meatballs to like actually visualizing you on a golf course with meatballs, putting them in the thing, and that to me was hilarious.
Oh man.
So that's what said.
You got to understand. There's 5, just to reset the thing. There's 5 trays, my man.
Yeah. And you were the last to eat, so you weren't being inconsiderate.
So
I get it.
I think lunch started at like 1:30.
Yeah.
I didn't go near that stuff until like 3:15.
Yeah.
And there were extra trays. Like people were wanting to go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
We had been there so long. So and everybody's seen those people at the buffet that like just pick the meat out.
Sure.
Like you'll have like stir fry or something at like
at the buffet.
I know you're a big Golden Corral guy, so like you'll pick the meat out.
I don't like Golden Corral. I will mess around with like a Chinese buffet.
Yeah, you hate on Golden Corral. Golden Corral is all right.
No, so when I was in college, we ate it way too much. Like it was a overexposure.
Yeah, that one in Bellevue stays mob deep.
It does. And
constantly.
Anytime we were on like a basketball road trip or anything.
Yeah.
So this is like 10 years of my life between playing and coaching.
You're hitting the row.
We're hitting like, if there was a Golden Corral, we were going like whatever buffet there was.
I know you're right. Who hot? You know how people just pick the good stuff out, right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's exactly what I did.
Which is fair,
right?
Then you just took it the extra step. And that visual was funny to me.
The meatballs look so good, though. They were huge. And it's just a big meatball of meat.
That is what they call it, a meatball.
And I was like,
they do be calling it a meatball for that reason.
I did leave my steak on the plate and some of my over easy eggs.
Oh, you never leave eggs alone.
Man, listen, too many people yapping. So it got cold. So it's not like I made, like, Doc Rob's asked, all these guys piling on, man. I got some for Rob. Rob is 355 trillion pounds. Now he's fit and he's like buzzed off of 2 beers. And you're calling me high sedity because I wiped my meat down. This dude had 2 drinks on a podcast and he was slurring his speech. Like, slow down there, Buttercup. It's not like I made this proclamation. Oh, man, this sauce, I'm a little bougie. I don't want my white top messy. I'm going to wipe it down. It was very discreet.
See?
Very subtle.
You know what's funny is if it had been one of those like, hey, I was wearing a nice shirt, like I wouldn't have said a word.
I can't remember what I had on, but I think I did have on a.
Like a dress
something
shirt
white.
or whatever.
No, this
Oh,
was
it
over
was
the
like a-
weekend. This
oh,
was at
white.
Coach. This
Yeah.
was at the condo.
Well, I don't know how these things go.
So
I don't know if it was like a fancy deal.
there was so much left.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, nobody's gonna mess with this. So I just went and I picked out all the made of all 5 trays. That's it.
That's fair.
I don't know where we got into the barbecue nonsense.
I don't either. I don't
like
either.
that wasn't even a thing.
No, I think people made their own assumptions about what sauce meant in the question. I will say, like full disclosure,
and there's a lot of listen, I'm not putting that on you. But a lot of people's food takes, they like want me to pass off his word as bond. Like just because you roll like that, I'm not mad at you, and I'm not saying it's got to be like that. I'm just saying they were drenched in marinara sauce. I don't like marinara sauce. I wanted the meat, so I towed them down.
And like I said, I'm not making a judgment on it, except for the visual to me was hilarious.
Yeah, you're an idiot though.
Well, that's fair. Like I never.
There were some. I can take it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the app is creative.
Oh yeah. Did you see the? Well, I think it was Generation Red.
Oh, that told me to blink twice.
No, the slap.
Oh,
he did the Will Smith, Chris Rock meme. That was the winner.
So
that was the winner of the day.
So the blink twice thing had me in tears because it's social media and you can't see me, right? So like I thought that was funny.
Really funny. No, he had a couple really good ones yesterday.
Somebody hit me with the do I get in the shower before I turn the water on?
Yeah.
I was like, dang.
Or somebody's like, you poop after you get out of the shower.
Yeah, now everybody's I'm like, this is what we're on.
And to be fair, I'm probably weirder than DB in more things.
Yeah, you Bish chiming in. Connor had the nerve to see. We're not petty like those guys. Like they apparently can't say.
Yeah, we'll say their names.
Well,
we don't care.
Like who cares, right?
Know.
I mean, we're we're all friends, but
nobody's like not listening to us because we said one of their names. Like,
oh,
this isn't like a Rosemary situation.
Have you not seen restaurants? They talk about competition all the time.
I mean, no, but yeah, I didn't know that was
that dude had nerve enough to.
That dude has broccoli soup for breakfast.
Listen, by choice.
Oh my god!
And then tried to rationalize it.
He's like, "Oh, it's because no, absolutely
the
not.
worst pizza takes ever."
Yeah.
And Bishop's sorry ass tries to ring, and I'm like, really?
Happer does have terrible food takes.
It's awful.
Terrible food takes.
I'm like,
yeah,
this is what we're on now.
Yeah.
But I,
and listen, don't even get Bishop started on some of my stuff because I rolled into a show with him one time.
Yeah.
And like during a break, I pop open a can of chili.
I'm sorry.
I popped open a can of Hormel, no free ads, but turkey, no bean chili, and just start eating it with a spoon.
Like Mel Gibson and Road Warrior?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
and
okay,
he was
that was dog food.
You don't say.
That's what Bishop thought it was because I mean it doesn't.
Did it look like Alpo?
It
They
doesn't
still make Alpo?
I don't know if they make Alpo, but like it didn't look great. And
why would you do that?
So it's the macros. This was back when I was powerlifting. The macros of that stuff were incredible.
Unbelievable.
So it was like for one can of those things, it was like 40 grams of protein, 30 grams of carb, and no fat.
Yeah.
And like for some reason, I was like, the most important thing in my life is benching 400 pounds.
And you can't put cans in the microwave, right?
Yeah. And I didn't really have time, right? Because we're like in the middle of a show or whatever. And I needed to get my macros in. And so I'm just sitting there.
It's mildly disgusting.
No, it's not good. I used to do this all the time, though. Like, it's not good. But for some reason in my brain, like, hey, benching 400 pounds is the most important thing in your life. So you have to do this. It's not like I won anything because of this.
I just didn't get, I didn't.
But no, people took it in a weird direction yesterday.
Yeah, it was just over the top.
But like,
maybe it was just because it was me. But I'm like, so nobody's ever done that, huh? Just got horseradish and wanted mayo. Got mayo and wanted horseradish. Never wiped wings down. Like
I haven't. The closest, honestly,
we're being. I've been at a cookout, and people drizzled their brisket. They like overlapped it and they laid it in a thing and they just put like a little drizzle. I held one of them up and I took a napkin and I like squeegeed the sauce off.
Yeah.
That's not bougie? Like, I don't even understand.
No,
But I see you guys just weren't being honest because of the poor way you framed the question, so everybody piled on. But I know what time it is.
So to be clear, I tried to phrase the question in the funniest way possible.
I know you did.
That's all I was trying to do. And then it got a life of its own.
Yep. Yes,
and
it did.
Took over a lot of my day.
Yoredumb.
Yordum?
You're dumb.
Is that a town in England? Yordum?
Yeah. Yeah. They play next to Tottenham.
Not a Hotspurs guy.
No?
No.
It's too trendy.
No, so I'm a Liverpool guy.
Yeah, no, not Newcastle enough for you.
No.
Do you drink the beer? Newcastle's a beer, right?
Yeah, Newcastle is not bad. The beer that sponsors or that used to sponsor, I don't know if they do anymore. Liverpool, Carlsberg, really bad.
Is that the one that has the umlauts over it?
Yeah, it's very bad.
I've seen it somewhere.
It's not good.
Yeah,
I tried it exclusively because I was like, oh, I like Liverpool. Maybe I would like this beer. No, I did not like that beer. Newcastle is good beer though.
How many beers do you think they had in Phoenix last night? Look what's on the television as we speak.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Man City and Arsenal.
Yeah. One time I said I could cheer for Arsenal, and my brother-in-law was basically like,
"We'll disown you.
Stop picking trendy teams." I was like, "Okay, next."
I mean, listen, if you're a casual fan, you want a team that's going to be good, right? Or at least a team that's going to be fun to watch.
I mean, I guess.
I'm not going to. I mean, listen. Okay, if you're coming into the Premier League, don't pick a team that's going to get relegated. Like that's not going to be fun for you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I understand.
Like, what are we doing? It would be like, oh yeah, this team that I like. My buddy, for some reason, is a big Swansea City fan. They're going to be like in League 2 in 2 years.
Yeah, you're like, why?
Yeah, like I get it's a fun name, and their logo is like a swan or something, so that's cool. But
it is.
I mean, it's an interesting looking logo.
Oh,
it's unique.
By the way, we have those are geese, right? The one that we watched flying to the roof.
Yeah, that I thought was going to dive bomb us a little bit.
When do those leave? Because they're acting kind of weird.
Yeah, they're a little out of pocket. I don't really know.
Just running into things.
I saw one fly into a building the other day.
Well, the one out here that hit the roof. Like,
I was with you. That's right. Yeah, it
smacked that thing.
It misjudged the roof and pop.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no. And then he wobbled off like he was in concussion protocol.
And had to take a second and take a 20 in the parking lot.
He looked like Tua after some of those plays.
Oh, that's not nice. Tua's 29-14, man.
No, he's pretty good,
TDs
but he got little wobbles a little bit.
So he's got a rubber arm.
He kind of looked like one of those. Do you ever have those toys when you were a kid, the Weeble wobbles?
The ones that look like eggs?
Yeah, they had the rounded bottom and it was
Weebles
wobble, but they won't fall down.
That was my brother's jam.
Yeah.
I had a dude at the gas station asked me today. He's like, "Hey, how's your brother doing?" And it's always awkward.
Yeah.
So I, gave the proverbial, "Oh yeah, lost him some years ago." Awkward silence. No, don't worry about it, bud. We're good. You didn't know.
Yeah.
My man said he worked with him at Fridays.
Oh, so it's like
this. I think he was at Fridays when I was maybe in middle school or high school.
Okay, so we're not going back.
Yeah. It was when it was in Westroads.
Yeah.
Which was.
That is always tough, though, because, you have these people in your life that you have an affinity for, right? But they just, especially, when social media wasn't a thing, it wasn't as easy to stay connected to people, and so you're just like, oh, man, I really like that guy. And then they're just gone from, your periphery for however many years. And then you see somebody so there is always I understand the desire to want to be like, oh man, I knew this guy back in the day, but you really have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
And so that's a tough spot.
So it just made me think because I stalked a guy. What's today?
Wednesday.
Monday. That has he's a vendor at the farmer's market.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fred's Pork Rinds and Cracklins.
Are you a big pork rinds guy?
Am I?
Oh, yeah, you make nachos out of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
So Coach Secor is my other carnivore guy. I mean, he's lost 226 trillion pounds.
Is that the OC?
Yeah.
He used to weigh 200 pounds more?
Listen, this dude is wispy thin. Wait till you see him. But anyway.
No, but he's always like, when I've seen him, he's been thin. I just can't imagine him with.
Oh, yeah. It's out of control.
Isn't he the Cheez-It guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
And wait, didn't a lot of what he like we exchange a lot of that stuff. So anyway, he screenshots me these pork rinds. So I look at the label, I'm like, oh man, I've never seen those. And he's like, oh, I got them from the farmer's market. They had, I don't know, whatever it was, 6 different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
So this was 2 Sundays ago. So I was like, oh. And it's always a good dinner idea because I had pork rind nachos for like 3 days in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So I Venmo'd him like whatever. And he picks them up for me. He lives right by Zoe's school.
Mm-hmm.
So I shot over there, I had 3 more bags. Well, I just ran out. I couldn't find the guy's website. I looked at the bag, it had an email address. I'm like, man.
Not trying to email this guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like, who's this weirdo?
At least have a Facebook page, guys. It's not hard.
He does, but I couldn't read it. So I had to ask a friend of a friend. I don't have Facebook.
Oh, I thought like it was in Spanish or something.
No.
I was like, what do you mean you couldn't read
No,
it?
if it was in Spanish, I could read the numbers.
It's a challenge.
What's wrong with you, man? They don't come up different.
You
What do you think? You got hieroglyphics? Gee, man, Christmas.
You just said I couldn't read it. I was like, what?
I can't read.
Was it a different language? I don't understand.
So I after this long, painstaking deal, I called the number like twice. This was Monday, mid-morning.
Yeah.
And the voicemail kept cutting me off.
So you're like tracking this guy down.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the whole. And I had to go to a friend of a friend. I'm like, bro, can you give me this number? So he finally calls back and he's like, hey, this is Fred. Who's this? And I kept it brief. But then we got into talking.
Mm-hmm.
My man knew everybody.
Yeah.
He was everywhere. Short story long, he gave me 2 more places in town that there's lots, but 2 that actually had an inn. And one of the places is a boutique and it's only open 3 days a week. I'm like, what's the point?
Oof, that's tough.
But he sold out of product, so I got to wait till like now. But they're incredible.
So these places sell his stuff?
Yes.
Oh, okay, nice.
Ravi.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well,
he knew that he's so good. He knows the difference between rinds and cracklings, right? Like
I do not.
Just one has more fat than the other. It crisps down.
Okay.
A lot better, and you get both in a bag.
Ooh, okay.
He might be my new best friend.
Well, no, I'm not after yesterday.
Now you're out. I kicked you out yesterday. I saw my buddy in the parking lot at the bank yesterday, and he said, I got Ravi pegged perfectly. He's
just a jerk.
No, he said you're a thoughtful pessimist, and how did he describe me? Can't remember, but that's why. That's
kind of funny.
And he said that's why there's the back and forth like that. He said it's just natural.
I don't consider myself a pessimist.
Well, you need to be like Coach Rule, be more self-aware.
Well, I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll get into it. We'll set up the show.
We didn't get it. No, do it quick.
Okay, we've got coming up at 8, Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. 8:30, Kevin Suits, 10-11 News in Lincoln. And 9 o'clock, we got Kendall Rogers.
Let's go. We got
from
it in.
D1 Baseball. That's a segment 1 show lineup, baby.
How you like them apples?
That's what we're doing here today on Herd Out Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We'll be back.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back.
I think early on.
The
You're listening to Herd at Sports Radio.
The night game coming up, prime time against Colorado, 6:30 on Saturday, September 7th on NBC. How stoked were you guys to hear that game in prime time? I know you're a fan of 11 a.m. games, but that atmosphere is going to be just epic on September 7th.
Yeah, I've only had one home night game here so far, and it was a great experience. And so, I think this is great for our fans. This is great for the game. The Nebraska-Colorado rivalry over the years, what it means. Obviously, they beat us last year. And then for our guys to have a chance, early in the season to go out there on national TV and show the country, the work that we've done and the team that we have. And so I'm excited. It should be an amazing, amazing football game.
The night game coming up.
We're back here on Herd at Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Robbie Lula here on the Pillar Exterior stage. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, most of the places you find podcasts. Just don't ask me about Google. We are getting after it here on a Wednesday morning.
It's your Caitlin Clark moment, Shane. Nice turnover. What?
Just taking a shot at Caitlin Clark early today.
No, I like Caitlin Clark.
I know you do. No, she had a little bit of a rough night.
Yeah, but see, you know what though?
She'll figure it out.
People love the long shots.
It was a win-win. Do you know why it was a win-win?
Why is that?
Glad you asked.
Hey, why is it a win-win, DB?
Because for all the the crybabies that were mad at veterans saying it's going to be an adjustment. Oh, you're just hating. Oh man, you're hating.
It's all no.
Oh
yeah.
You know, down at Taurasi,
It's an adjustment for everybody.
Like, you know,
it's an
like
adjustment for everybody.
It's like I don't see anything inflammatory about that. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So, but she showed you flashes of why she's great.
Yeah.
And still struggled just enough to let you know. So it lent credibility to the WNBA, and she came out of the back end as she started to settle down as somebody you're like, yeah, she's probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah, you could make.
So I felt like that's a win-win because I'm, as you know, I'm a Caitlin Clark fan.
It would probably be an indictment on the WNBA.
Yeah, if she just came in and went blistering on them, you know what I mean?
Like that's not a good look for the league.
Yeah.
Right. So you saw both her talent and the league's talent on display. I get that. That makes sense.
A'ja Wilson is a monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like the WNBA, and you guys can eye roll me as you're sitting at your proverbial stoplights right now thinking, why would they just play the Coach Rule clip and then not talk about Coach Rule? I don't know. We got 2 hours and 40 more minutes.
I mean,
all right, 29.
229.
I got this.
If I was a Husker fan, I'd just be coming hoping that the ball's not on the ground.
Look at you doing quick math. I like that.
It was a total guess. It was a feel because I
29
break. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah, we were right on.
Yeah, I wish I was
a baller, a little bit taller.
No, I wish I could take credit for that. but it's the Coach Rule effect. Cootie did it to me yesterday.
Yeah.
She finally found my phone charger or my
laptop
charger.
Yeah.
Because I left it in the not the Husker Radio Network booth, the upstairs booth.
Oh.
So that door, like there's like 4 people on the planet that have keys to that thing. And apparently Jess isn't one of them. So she sent me a picture of the cord.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yes. It's only been X amount since the spring. I had a little snark, but then I was like, thank you. You're the best. And she's like, actually, wasn't me. It was Russ. Russ went up there. He's one of the few with a key. So say thank you to Russ. I was like, dang, everybody around there has the Coach
compliments deferred.
Yeah, compliments.
Criticisms accepted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a thing now. It's a thing at Lincoln.
Also,
don't take credit if somebody gives you a compliment on that campus.
Also, nobody talks about Coach Rule more than we do. Like, if anybody's got a problem, like nobody.
Yeah, I feel like he does come up quite a bit.
Yeah, it's because I have an infatuation.
Well, you explain. Do you want to? You think that's too deep?
No, I don't. My infatuation with him is
because you even felt like you had to explain it to me, and I was like, I get it.
Yeah,
but I'm around him, so it's.
And you're around both of us a lot.
It's a little more explainable.
So you understand it, right?
Well, not the way you framed it the other day.
Yeah. So the reason I have an infatuation with Coach Rule is, I mean, obviously I like the way he goes about things, but I have always cared about sports more than it ever made sense to me to care about sports. Because at the end of the day, there's this logical side of my brain that's like, they're just games. The results don't affect, world hunger or world peace or what, right? Like I understand on a logical, in a vacuum level, that the results of games don't matter, right? And that as much as we love them, like it's always felt a little irrational to me why I love sports as much as I do. And so a lot of my life as an adult, I've spent kind of searching for those reasons because I truly believe I wouldn't care about it as much as I do if it was just about the results. And so
and like in your head, you're thinking, gosh, it's got to be something else.
There's got to be something more, right? And people feel that way about, movies. People feel that way about music. That I feel that way about sports. So I was like, there's more here than just I like being entertained on a Saturday or whatever, right? That's why I do what we do, is because I do care about it in that way. And Coach Rule is the first person to be able to articulate the way I feel about sports in a coherent and simple to understand way. And basically all it is everything in sports is a microcosm of real life. And it can, like, sports can make you a better person, right? And that's what I love about it. And it can not just make you a better person. It's like, oh, you learn teamwork and you learn to work hard, like all the cliches we talk about. Although those are true, right? They're cliches for a reason. It's because it's accurate. You learn how to be a part of a team and to work hard at things and be rewarded for that. Those are important things. But to me, there's a more philosophical area that he goes into about how the little things in life matter to such a great degree. And I'm going to bring this up until he retires or until I die or one or the other, but like the near misses versus remote misses thing, that's a real thing in my life. Like, that's why I bring it up so much. And the fact, when we talked to him, he talked about, and he didn't use it in these terms exactly, but this is exactly what he was saying, was turning near misses into remote misses, right? And because
indirectly with his examples.
Yes, right. Yeah. And you can go from, hey, we went, like, these guys used to be kind of shell shocked is the word that they used to use for it, in, oh, this bad thing happened and we're expecting it to happen again. And we're always waiting for the next bomb to drop, right? Instead of going like, hey, we survived this, we can do anything.
You know what's funny is a lot of people get in and out of relationships like that.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
Yeah, I know. But the thing that got me, like the thing that I finally understood my infatuation was when he's giving those examples, because I had always, and listen, like, I love Malcolm Gladwell. I've read the books. Like, I get into it, right?
Did I tell you the NPR joke?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was fun. You showed it to me.
I was like, I think that's a compliment.
It's a little backhand. It's a little snarky.
Like a criticism.
But I had always viewed it as things are either near misses or remote misses. And he, in that moment, made me realize you can turn one into another or vice versa. And I realized that had happened in real time in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had gone through, like, age 0 through 30, everything was a remote miss for me. I was always waiting for the next bomb to drop. I was always just living in fear of what happens next. And then I go through a divorce. I go to therapy. I learn to turn those into near misses where it's like, hey, I went through this thing that was really, really hard. Like, I've talked about it some either on social media or here. Like, my mental health was in a bad place when that happened. Like, not like going down dark paths, right? And being able to turn that and survive that into like, oh, now I feel like I can survive anything.
Yeah, like, and the cool thing is you can relate that to making clutch free throws late,
100%.
or when a guy develops an MO of not being clutch, or somebody that's always clutch regardless of
situation,
however the game has gone leading up to that, right? Because those are remote near miss
scenarios,
kind of people.
Yeah,
and those are scenarios in sports that totally play out. It's like, why do you never want the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands?
Because he's always going to beat you.
Oh, like, he's just gonna figure it out.
I'm a 49ers fan. I was sitting there watching the Super Bowl, and I was like, well, there we go. But that's the guy you want, right?
And then there's some people you're like, yep,
because that's a guy.
This one's over.
Because that's a guy who knows, like, hey, I'm going to walk down the street and take what I want, right? That's how he operates. And the fact that you can learn those skills playing a game, and then that makes you a better person in life. He articulates sports in a way that connect with me on like a soul level. And I could not appreciate that about him more. Now we just got to win football games.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Herd at Sports Radio.
I think early on as a head coach, when I first started at Temple, I truly believed that, giving was the ultimate form of living, to quote, Dr. King. And so it was really important to us, that, we know we're given a lot, much would be required of us. And so we wanted to go out, we wanted to give to the community, not always with cameras, not always with, rewards on the other end, but just to give back. And I think what you find is a lot of the times some of your guys that you're struggling to reach, maybe they're a little bit hesitant to go do some of these things, but when they do it, they are always the best. They always see themselves in some of the kids that they visit with. They always find a way to make an impact. And so it's been important to us. And obviously Keith Zimmer's in our life skills program, they do a great job of opening up opportunities. We have some guys that are going, I believe it's to Panama. I'm probably saying the wrong thing, but I believe it's to Panama here in a couple of days. I just was at lunch with Derek Branch, and he just got his last shots to go. Gus takes people out in the community every single day. And I mean, isn't that right? Like, to think of all the people here in Lincoln that support us, let's go support them. And again, does it help you win more games? I can't say that it does, but I do believe it probably does, to have a team that's grateful and appreciative and takes care of others.
Wrapping up hour number one here on Herd at Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lula here on the Pillar Exterior stage. Another gem of a quote there from Coach Rule.
Gus is a great person.
Yeah, you love Gus.
I do.
Yeah.
Get on the Gus bus. Gus will snap your neck and then put you back together. Sometimes you just have to be like that.
Yeah,
Hey, where am I and where do I stand?
Yeah, sometimes you got to break down and build back up. I get that.
And you know the great thing about him is we were going through some of his conversations with his son because he's a tough lover, right? And I was saying to him, I said, you know, I really appreciate how you're handling some of these guys in particular, and I gave him the examples of not being able to fill out proper paperwork and stuff like that. And you know how Caleb was in his feels. He's like, let me show you something. He shows me a conversation he had with his son, you know, about his demeanor after practice getting in the truck. And I'm like, I love it, man. It's like you don't pick and choose when to be consistent.
Yeah, right? Because
you're not picking and choosing when to be consistent. He just is, man. And like I said, you guys would get along because Gus likes cigars. You want to get in good with him?
Yeah.
Give him a nice Cohiba. Or is that
yeah, Cohiba's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, do that.
Listen,
I only know that because of Michigan Lance.
I'll listen. I'll buy the whole staff Cohibas. Let's go.
He got me
Let's
one.
hang out.
He got me one for my birthday.
Yeah. You're not a big cigar guy though.
Yeah, but I didn't want to be what's the word? Ungrateful.
Yeah.
So I think I held it maybe a little.
Yeah.
Like spun it around. Like
You
looked
do a
at
little
it the
sniff
long
test a little
ways.
bit.
I think I sniffed it and I think I put it back in the Ziploc bag.
Yes, indeed.
They do smell good.
No, they don't.
You don't think so?
No.
Sometimes, because sometimes, full disclosure, sometimes when I'm in the house, I don't smoke in the house, but I'll just kind of hold one and it's kind of a fidgety type thing. So it's nice to have something in your hand and then I'll smell it and I like the smell of them.
That's funny. I walked around the Tours on campus this weekend with an apple in my hand, like pretending, almost like I do with the Supernovas volleyball.
Yes, yeah, where you just have something.
And I like to pretend pitch and stuff that. And
I love doing
people. People are like, "Are you gonna eat that? Or are you just gonna keep playing with it?" Because we're going on 2 hours. I was like, "Look, man, I understand everybody's got jokes, and it's cut people down all day. Like this is gonna be a long day, but I need this to keep sane." So
yeah.
I'm a fidgety guy, and if you guys don't want to have to fight me later on, just let me do my thing.
Just let DB do
You
DB.
got me. I mean, you got me in public. Come on, man.
Feel out here just all exposed.
Listen, I was leaving the game. Can I say this?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
I was leaving the game yesterday, and I said to my buddy Brett, he's like, you did you meet him?
I don't remember.
He might have been leaving.
Yeah,
he's a big, strong guy, right? And I was like, hey, let's go out this way so I don't get pinned in. And we took this awkward exit to leave the field because behind me there was this mass of people.
Yeah.
And the day before was no bueno. So I was like, and I know he's probably thinking in his head, what is wrong with this dude? But he's traveled with me, so he knows.
Yeah, it's just not your personality. You don't want to. And you know what's funny is
but I'm always going to be friendly.
That's the thing is people. I don't want people to think that you're not friendly because you are.
Yeah, I'm always going to be friendly.
You're just a little more introverted, than people realize.
And I missed the first inning, almost full inning, but that one was legit because I was talking to staff at La Vista South.
Yeah,
and I love him. People have heard me talk about Van Akron before. He was behind where my guy was standing, kind of off to the side. So I just got caught up talking to him.
Yeah,
and I swear I missed about 65, 80 pitches. But he's so cool. He's like, hey, any concessions? And I would work. I like that dude.
Yeah,
yeah. They got some good people over there.
That's a guy you could work for.
Yeah, their facilities, man.
Yeah. I haven't been over there in a little bit, but last time I was there, they were top notch.
Oh man, it's the state baseball is very, very spoiled. Isn't the word? They're fortunate.
Yeah.
You're either just the 3 sites and the rotation, and those fields are just fantastic.
Yeah. So when
we thought it was a big deal. We got to play at the Blatt, and that thing was not good.
I'm glad you said that out loud.
No, that field was chewed up.
Yeah, it was I get that there's a lot of nostalgia with it, and that's fine, but it wasn't.
Oh, don't get it twisted though. I'm Team Blatt over Team
I'm just saying it wasn't a good, like it wasn't a
but
good
it was
facility.
at the high school level for state baseball. It was not.
It was not in good shape.
It's not ideal.
Um,
So thank the Lord they moved me to the outfield. I can't field.
I can't read. No, when I was in high school, they played everything until the final, I think, at Seymour Smith.
I'm biased.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a Northwest thing. So
I like Seymour Smith.
And the renovations they've done there are sensational.
Yes. So this was pre-renovation.
I have a
affinity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only 2 fields I really get like that over.
What's the other one?
Orville Smith. Big
Ralston?
Yes.
Yeah.
Played a lot of meaningful games there. And Seymour is the other. Outside of Northwest.
Yeah. There was Bellevue East has a really nice stadium too.
Oh, Rowdy? Yeah,
we played some games.
I don't feel like I ever played well there.
Yeah. It's a nice, as far as a fan though,
and
it's a nice place to
They had a couple of horses. They had some guys that could shove. And I always liked playing against Strickland because there were only a handful of schools that had other really good black baseball players.
Yeah.
Central had their share, Benson and Bellevue West. So those are you're just finding things to be motivated by. Like,
yeah,
those are the things that got me going. But I don't feel like I ever played great against Bellevue West.
Oh no, I'm talking about Bellevue East.
But that's where they
played their home. Yeah. Okay, yeah. You're right.
That's where they played.
There's some nice stadiums around.
It's pretty spoiled, man.
I
was like in every at bat, every pitch. I was like, hey, he's left-handed. He's resting his hands on his shoulders. Get in under his hands. Or I'd watch guys practice swings. I'm like, oh, he's a wrist roller. Like you can get in. Like it's a great, great game. It is a fantastic game to watch.
Yeah.
So let's keep this thing rolling for another couple of days.
Yeah, another couple of days.
Then you get state track, man. How about
state track?
Are we going to touch
today?
90 on the week Saturday?
It's at least 80s, right?
The finals could be.
It's going to be
legit.
Yeah, it's going to be heated.
It could
more
be
ways than one.
Pretty legit.
Yeah.
So I'm
better be ready to deal with the heat.
I'm excited. So. My buddy's daughter qualified in a couple events for state. I'm excited for him.
Nice.
She's in the 200 and 4x1 for Gretna.
It's exciting.
200, the worst race maybe on the planet.
You think 200 over 400?
So at least the 400, you don't have to be as explosive.
Yeah, 200's hard.
200 is
hard.
As sprinters.
Yeah.
Like 200 is for real folks.
For real?
Listen, you get a curve and you have to be able to push it.
Yeah. You're going full out for the entire time.
Yeah, so it's like the 200 is not for the faint of heart.
You got to be continually
pressing.
I know there's also a
we got into it over Mike Tomlin for the record this weekend.
Who?
Pressing.
I'll give Coach Rule. I look back a little bit.
Not a Tomlin guy?
No, he is.
Oh,
it's just a couple of things.
I'll say he seems like he'd be a Tomlin guy.
I'd look sideways at. What do you mean? You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
It's a challenge.
No, we've got. I'm excited. We got state track, state baseball wrapping up. I think we got last day of state soccer today. It's a busy time, and then
they'll get 5+.
Oh yeah, obviously tonight or starting tonight. You've got the Pro Volleyball Federation semifinals. Your Omaha Supernovas play at 8:30.
They get a late one.
Yeah, first game's at 6 with the Atlanta Vibe and Grand Rapids Rise. You can still get tickets, provolleyball.com or supernovas.com. You can go there, get your all session or single session tickets. I'll be out there tonight. But
Shane, what's up with our ticket situation? I feel like we missed that yesterday.
Still have time.
They still have time. If you are trying to get that done, get it out to me or get a hold of Shane, and we will get those out to you. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lula here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, Pillar Exterior Stage. We'll be back coming up next with Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. You're on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Here is Husker 24/7 senior writer Brian Christopherson.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of a circus act.
Brian Christopherson.
Well, I mean, that's pretty interesting.
Brian Christopherson.
I kind of enjoy that.
Here is Brian Christopherson.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lula here on the Pillar Exterior stage. Real quick, before we get to Brian Christopherson, I mentioned some tickets. If you want 4 tickets to tonight's Supernovas match, call 888-638-4876 for the Pro Volleyball Federation Championship. Give your information to Shane. We will get those tickets over to you for tonight's 8:30 p.m. match for the Omaha Supernovas. Or you can just go to provolleyball.com or supernovas.com to buy your tickets if you're not the one to call. Joining us now on the Hurrdat Hotline is Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. BC, what's going on, buddy?
Not a lot. How are you guys doing?
Just hanging out. How about I'm getting my my coach rule fix over the last. Guess now we're going like what? Probably 10 days of him kind of making the rounds. Like,
What's happening?
I know what's happening. It just seems like there's a lot out there. BC, what about you? Twins are still winning. Is that are you weaving that in your coach rule life?
Yeah, Twins are doing fine. Minnesota sports crisis right now is the Timberwolves, which is I can't say I'm a diehard, but I do feel the pain of everybody up in Minnesota because this is such a Minnesota pro sports thing that's going on right now.
I just wanted to let Minnesota Timberwolves fans off the hook that they got caught up in the whirlwind of getting up 2-0. Like they were a 3 seed. Denver's was a 2 seed. They didn't play particularly well at the end of the season, and they're still young. Like, the sky isn't falling, BC. Denver is just really, really good.
I know, but Minnesota sports fans just have a lot of trauma built up in their lives, and so
it's all right. When McCarthy throws for 4,400 and they're knocking on the playoff door, they'll feel better.
Is that your prediction? Are you saying he's going to do it for us? He's going to be that guy.
I like McCarthy more than most that didn't draft him. Like I think BC. I think he's going to be pretty good.
All right. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better. I got to be honest. I just respect your opinion enough that I'm like, okay.
I listened to him. You know, I got a chance to talk to him before the Michigan-Nebraska game. There's just something there about how he attacks things now. And I think he's good enough physically where that's not going to reveal itself, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, physically, he's a lot more impressive than Tua, and Tua finds a way to do it with some moxie. So I don't know, man. I just don't get the doom and gloom on McCarthy. I think he's going to be okay.
Well, a lot of that comes from my coworker, Mike Schaefer. I haven't been as much gloom as he has been about it, but no, that makes me feel better that you're upbeat about it.
Knowing him, he's probably out somewhere looking for some shark to eat, and he's going to send me some photos of it or something. That's a Schaefer thing.
Yeah.
BC, have the Timberwolves considered finding a sausage to slap around?
Yeah, they might need to do that. People don't know the Twins had a lucky sausage that got them rolling. So after a sausage almost took out Byron
killed Byron Buxton. He gets hurt a different way, and now they love the sausage again. So it's like it's great.
Yeah. So I don't know what the Wolves are going to do. I bought a Wolves hoodie when they were up 2-0, not because I'm a bandwagon. I've always kind of liked the Wolves casually, and I like their logo. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get this lightweight hoodie that was online because they were trying to sell off the Wolves, and they've lost 3 in a row since it showed up at my door. So
it might be your fault.
I have a Minnesota Timberwolves mini basketball.
They do have a good logo.
Full disclosure, Kevin Garnett is one of my favorite players of all time. And I was there in, I think, 2005 when the Lakers had Wally Zerbiak and Sam Cassell and
Fred Hoiberg.
Yeah, and Kay Jizzle and
Anthony Peeler on that team.
I went there to watch them play the Lakers and got a mini basketball. And I'm not even a what do you call those? It's not a tchotchke. It's a
like a memorabilia.
Yeah, I don't even. The only thing I have are a couple of things that Kugler sent me from the Steelers with a terrible towel. I don't have a lot of pro stuff.
Oh, well, so you're a T-Wolves guy too. That's good. I was going to ask you how your hibachi cooking was.
You know what?
The other guys were talking up their skills. I didn't know if Caleb finished last or what happened there.
BC, people know I like to cook, so they would not let me do it. Like. They let Micah got on there. They even let Zoe cook, and she's 5. I was like, "You guys serious?" But the funniest thing about that is when they let the players cook because they're teaching them how to grocery shop and how to cook so they can eat healthy. Mike, my he's just turned 15 yesterday, is so competitive. Sean Patton and I were just watching him from behind. He's like, his leg is tapping because he's like, my brother's awful. I make breakfast for him. I cook dinner for him. Like, he can't do, he's driving me crazy how he's like using his spatula. And he was just chomping at the bit to like go cook. So when they let him go cook, just their staff, they're like, oh man, he's been in the kitchen before. And I was like, oh yeah, just ask him. He doesn't want you looking over his shoulder like this, but he likes to cook. Caleb can't. You want me to tell you what Caleb did for a smart guy, Mr. IQ? He calls me.
That's not me, but yeah,
he calls me one day. He's on because he eats on this schedule, and he wants to make. He put tortillas, like the soft shells, in the toaster, and I'm like, why are you? Because he goes, hey, what do the numbers mean at the bottom of the toaster? I go, those are minutes, man. I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, oh, that would explain a lot. and I'm in my truck coming home, and I'm like, what happened? He goes, I just keep burning the tortillas. I was like, first of all, use something else. Use the McMuffins or warm the tortillas up in the microwave. Second of all, what do you mean you burnt? Because I'm imagining how it smells. But you see, I walk in the house, and you would have felt like he microwaved popcorn for about 12 minutes. I was so mad. And then he doesn't dump the toaster out. So like every time he tries to start it again, it smells like burnt remnants. I'm like, how do you get good grades? Like you could tell me the difference from our ice coverage to 2-man versus 3, and you can't figure out a toaster? Like, he can't do anything in the kitchen.
I can't cook at all, and I can do a toaster.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I was traumatized.
I have my share of stories like that. I always just tell people that I was like 7 when they happened, even though it was like,
not 18.
I was 23 actually, but I just say I was 7. But I'll tell you what, Caleb, I got Caleb on the horn for a few minutes Sunday. Man, enjoyable to talk to. Just like I heard Ravi the last segment talking about like sort of the greater good of sports. I was just talking to my wife last night. I was like, the guys like these 16, 17, 18-year-olds that like you'll interview after their trips or how they'll respond to you. It's impressive. They're like the best of society. Like the way that you're able to articulate with them and back and forth. It's just great. So yeah, Caleb was fantastic the other day, and so were those other guys who were on the visit.
He's super low maintenance.
BC, kind of go on that thought. Like, are you either surprised at all, or I guess I don't really know the word for it, but how do you process the fact that Coach Rhule seems willing to use kind of what I was talking about, kind of the philosophy of sports and life, to do these recruiting pitches and give the athletes enough credit that they don't just need to be blinded by all the bells and whistles and all this stuff where it's like, oh, look how many uniform combinations we have or whatever. It's like, hey, like you can win recruits with real life stuff. I don't know that that's something we see a ton in college recruiting.
Yeah, I thought Sean Patton said an interesting thing last week when he was talking about, yeah, obviously the shiny stuff is nice, but then it's like how the people behind the scenes like can help you with that stuff, like what actually the ins and outs of like the sports science department, or like what we were talking about with the director of nutrition, Kristen Coggan, just having that session where you're teaching them some things and then they have a fun competition and all that. I know that some of that stuff, when you talk to the recruits, is very unique to their visits compared with other places. And it does separate yourself, I think. And it connects in a way with those guys where they're like, they're not, this is not being dumbed down at all for me. They are excited about what I can bring to the table, and they want to teach me everything that I can grow from here. And so I think it's a very good process. And I mean, Damon's been on the tour, so he can speak. He could speak with expertise to it, but I don't know how many different stations they hit up along the way on their official visit. But I've always thought it'd be a fascinating story to like go which I might do at some point, go talk with each person that does a station about sort of their presentation and all that, if they'd let me. I think it's a very cool thing, and it's part of their success recruiting, no doubt.
It was incredible. And I don't know if he's done this before. It seemed impromptu, but I don't put anything past Coach Rule in terms of planning. He kind of just he didn't cut in, but he took a little bit of time during Kristen's nutrition display to explain the difference between some differences when on recruiting visits, when people talk about family and home and this, that, and the other. And he said, it was incredible, BC. He said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you why you should come to Nebraska. We're here to help you find a home. Right? Like, and he gave this analogy. He said, we kind of grew up, it was a little meager, it was a little tough. Some of my other friends had some other things. He said, there were times where I would find myself jealous of things or some stuff. Like maybe I wanted a different TV. I never had a TV in my room, or maybe I wanted, their house looked better than mine. He said, but I was never jealous or wanted anybody else's home. My home and what it consisted of inside was the most important thing to me. I want to help you find a home. And BC, it sounded kind of simple, and it was only about 3 or 4 minutes with his analogies, but the room momentarily, you could tell, just went silent, right? Like people were like giving it pause, because his pitch wasn't on why you should come to Nebraska. It's what you should look for in choosing a school. You know what I mean? And I've heard him say it's the same thing the staff told Christian. It's the same thing they told Caleb. It's like, we're not here to sell you on us. We're going to give you the attributes of what we are, and then you go do with the information what you will and get back to us. Like he's willing to do that.
No, that's really interesting, because it kind of connects the unseen to yesterday. I was interviewing Broderick Scholl, who of course was on the trip this weekend, the big lineman from Oklahoma.
Great kid. Great kid.
Yeah. And he's an interesting kid, I think, with a cool background, but the biggest thing to him was the family aspect. That's what he stressed in the whole interview, was the family feel. Said there was a different connection at Nebraska compared to most other places between coaches and their players, or the coaches and the prospects. But what you're speaking about in that story told kind of connects to what he was saying, just about how it just made such an impression on him, and was going to give him a tough decision. I don't know he's got some good options on the table for himself, and we'll see what he does. But I know Nebraska made it tough on him, so to speak, in a good way, because of exactly what you're saying. Because he felt that. So that's interesting to hear that part of it, though. It kind of connects the dots for me when you do these interviews, and you don't know all the specifics, of course, of what happens behind the scenes, but you can kind of now you put it together a little bit.
We're talking with Brian Christopherson of Husker 24/7. BC, does it kind of connect to that conviction that we see from Rule about the way he runs his program
and recruits?
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be surprising he recruits that way too, because all he's really saying is the same thing that we hear when he's talking about current players, is like, hey, this is who we are and this is what we do. And if that's not for you, that's okay. But this is how things are going to be here. And so, it kind of lends itself to it. You're almost, again, I said this before when he was talking about stuff after spring, he's kind of giving you permission not to choose Nebraska, but he's also giving you the information to know that, like, if this is what you're looking for, Nebraska is the perfect place for you.
Yeah. And making it clear you're not just the name on the board. I always think of the, at the end of a season, the old Friday Night Lights scene where Billy Bob takes off the name and puts up another name, and it's like you got to build your two deep again. This would be the anti of that. It's that sort of like we're about you, the person. Obviously, we're here to win games, and we want to build you up as a player, and we're going to develop you in that way too. But all these other aspects that you're going through on these as you go through this tour and you're looking at the campus life. We want you to have that enriching experience and grow you that way and feel like this, like Damon was saying, this is your home. If it's real, and it definitely seems real with the way they speak on it, guys can usually tell, and you'll usually get the right type of players over time that want to be a part of that. And you'll have some that pass up, and there's other good options out there. Let's not pretend there aren't, but there's no question right now. I feel like Nebraska's got some off-season momentum, you know, and not just with the facility, but with the people that are surrounding it. And Rule, when you listen to him in interviews, feels very comfortable with his staff and that each person can kind of crush their job and do it to the best of their abilities. And that's a good place to be right now. And now you gotta just take that next step from there.
BC, it's interesting because I'm curious to get Scholl's thoughts on Donnie Raiola, because outside of Satterfield, I think this weekend probably but kind of their personalities inside those walls were probably the most different from what you see on the outside. Very businesslike at the podium and contrite. He's a fantastic recruiter. I watched him probably more than anyone of the staff. He's amazing. I had to text Dom about halfway through it, and I was like, hey, man, I apologize. I know you're at graduation, but, man, your brother is, you know, and then I'd say something, and he's like, bro, he's the best in the business. What? Like, I know this. Like, that was basically that was kind of basically his response, but I was just like, he was incredible. And I looked at you look at the roster and kind of their talent. The O-line is the place where, I mean, those guys got some bling to them in terms of stars and development. He's way better than I think we think he is, really.
Well, he's definitely changed the conversation about him, hasn't he? Like, not
amazing. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you think about
from this time last year to this time this year.
Oh, 100%.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially like December, January of that first month or whatever, and Rule, and they're like, we're gonna keep Donnie as the one guy, and everybody's like, what? You know, like it was, and now you look back at it, and I don't want to like wag my finger. I wasn't too tough on that decision, but some were. I don't want to wag my finger at it, but I think, you know, it was kind of silly to be overly tough on Raiola for the first year anyway, considering the bizarre circumstances that were sort of unfolding as he was the O-line coach that initial season. But that showed some, you know, good foresight from Matt Rule and Marcus Satterfield, by the way, who, if you remember, was key. Like, I remember when we first met Marcus Satterfield, he talked about the first time he met Donovan Raiola and how they just had this long conversation, and he's like, he walked over a Rule. He's like, you got to keep this guy.
Yeah. Because I think the intent was to not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rule said as much. Rule has said as much that he did not intend to keep him.
Yeah. So, I mean, but obviously some of what you saw was unveiled there, you know, off the bat, and it has paid off. Now they got to keep rolling. I mean, we're in that time where everything's pretty good, and they got to take that next step as an offensive line. But I think the recruiting part for sure. I mean, just the guys they're in on, the guys they've landed. Where you get Grant Bricks last cycle, and I've liked, like, I could go through the list of guys on the O-line the last two cycles, and I like all the potential there. So he has a no nonsense way when he's on the field, but I can believe what you're saying. Like, you get him off to the side, and I think he could cut it up, and it'd just be pretty good. You know, connecting with those guys in a fun way too. I mean, it has always been one of the closest rooms on the team. They say that, but also other position groups have said that about the O-line too. Like, so, you know, there's some truth to it. So that has to come from the coach of that group being sort of multifaceted, and I think that's showing up to more and more people now.
That's a great call, BC. I was asking some of the guys in the strength and conditioning program that have the particular units like, hey, I'm the O-line, D-line guy, and I'm the DB guy, whatever. And I was just asking them, I'm trying to learn for what I'm doing in high school, right? So I'm asking them about camaraderie and chemistry, and almost to a man, they're like, nobody moves as one, like the offensive line. He said their symmetry and cohesiveness and their ability to just do things kind of as a unit, they said, is unparalleled. I thought that was, and I mean, you may say duh because they're O-line and they have to work together, but there's
always like that.
It's not, and there's a lot of them, and it's just, I don't know, man. Nobody batted an eye at how Coach Raiola has them thinking as a unit.
Yeah, he's definitely changed the conversation. I mean, even last year before the season, I remember Stephon Wynn, who left, but he was doing an interview and he was like, those guys like dress the same, and they're like, they go everywhere together.
So remember when people would cry about how he, T-shirts, like he wanted everything the same in the weight room, and people thought he was like the Gestapo or something. It's just like, oh man, this is just how we roll.
Yeah, there's a purpose to it. But I mean, there's definitely been a change there, and now it's making that next move on the field, and I thought they made progress last year. I think one of the reasons I feel like people have been cautiously optimistic, but the biggest reason for the optimism with the fan base a lot of times is how it feels like it's shifted on both sides of the ball in the trenches. Like there was a feeling at this time a year ago with the D line, there were some guys who went in the portal and was like, okay, what's this going to look like? How's it all going to come together? At that point, Nash was like a fringe guy as far as snaps. Like in his career, he hadn't been that every down guy. You didn't know what that was going to look like. Within like a month of the season, people are pretty convinced, man, this D-line is trending well and they've got some depth. And then you started to pick up, there's progress going on with that O-line too. And now to me, it's like, can that O-line kind of make that, I think kind of the step the D-line made last year where it's to that level, like on the field as well. I thought they're okay and sometimes pretty good, but now it's like going up 2 steps from that. But that's, I think, why there's some optimism, is because there has been a feeling like where it counts on the trenches, Nebraska's shown some improvement, even though the record didn't necessarily show it.
BC, real quick, about 30 seconds here. Tell me about TJ Lateef, the quarterback commit.
Well, first, I just think it's awesome, Robbie, that a guy wants to come and compete. Like he says, like if they say it's a true competition, I believe them. Let's go, and I'll challenge myself with that. And I think he's got all the tools. Nebraska couldn't shoot an air ball this class on the quarterback position, and they hardly did that. They went and got a 4-star guy who, makes your room better. And I always say, quarterback, any position, it doesn't work just like we always say, where we write it down like, oh, is a quarterback for 3 years, then it's going to be this guy for 2 and this guy for 1. Sometimes we like to map this thing out like it happens like that. It doesn't always, or it rarely does. So I like the guy says, you know what? I like the coaches. I like the surroundings at this place. I believe in my skill set. I know this other guy's here, but I'm going to go be part of that too. And it'll work itself out. And it was a big get for Nebraska. And, it's good for the class too, to have that. It's always good when you have that QB centerpiece that's part of it, that the other guys are kind of, in their text box with and everything. That matters. It definitely does.
That's Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7 BC. We appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, B.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
We will be back. We will be back. Herd Hats. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Herd Hats Sports Radio.
We're halfway through the show here on Herd Hats Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Robbie Lilla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We are joined now by Kevin Suits at 1011 News in Lincoln. Kevin, what's going on, man?
Good morning. Hopefully the voice holds out for you guys and we can have a productive conversation. A little strained after an exciting weekend of 10U baseball in Columbus.
Whoa, 10U
Oh,
baseball.
look at you.
Okay.
So you're all over the place because Lincoln is well represented in multiple sports at state, and you're parenting. Okay, I like it. I like it. I like it. Are you on your way here already?
Yeah, I'm going to hit up the Norris Lincoln Northwest game this morning. DB, you're right. I am on team no sleep. It's been a last couple of weeks. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So I got to ask: Are you just parenting the 10U, or are you coaching that mug?
Oh no. I'm parenting. And I found out with this.
Oh no. You're not getting me.
My coaching days are long gone, and I enjoy being, not in the dugout. This is fun. It's fun just being a dad. And where you sit for my son's baseball games dictates how involved I am in my emotional level of the game.
Okay, lay this out for me, Kevin. I need to understand.
if we're close, if we're front row, if I throw down the folding chair and my son catches. So sometimes I like to be right there just to kind of feel the game with him and just kind of critique and watch what he's doing. If I'm there, I'm in it. I am like 30 feet too close to action. Sometimes I'll go down by the left field foul pole and you won't hear boo from me.
Yeah.
And, I'm surfing the web, in between innings. So it's really where I position myself, for whatever reason on Sunday, my preferred spot was taken. I was late to the game and I couldn't put the seats down where I wanted. I don't like the bleachers either. So I was a little too close and it brought out, a vocal sigh.
I laugh because you are 100% spot on, which is intense. It's the only reason why in basketball I sit the same place in every gym of every game.
You go hide in the corner?
The furthest corner away from what's going on from the student section, because it's just naturally disarming. I'm too far away for anybody else to hear me, and nobody cares what the guy in the corner is saying, right? But I know, like, if I was in the front row, or I watched state baseball yesterday from the foul grounds because I know I don't want to say anything, and I don't even really have any skin in the game. I just know that where I am dictates my behavior.
And when you're way far away, you can just talk under your breath and nobody's going to catch what you're saying. And so
you can just be the crazy guy talking to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a freeing feeling. I can say whatever I want, whenever I want, with no worries about anything. The other element too, guys, is the community of parents on the team. Like my son's on a group that has awesome moms and dads and brothers and sisters. So you want to still be involved and have some fellowship, because that's a special time to be at the ball field and just some of the random things you can talk about in between innings. So you don't want to neglect yourself from that. So that's where it's a little bit of where's Waldo? Where's Kevin? Sometimes I'm way out there. Sometimes I'm too close. And I think I learned from this weekend, when it's a high stakes game, don't get too close, because, at the end of the day, I can barely talk to my wife when she's 3 feet away from me.
It's like, if I'm anywhere near my son catching, hey!
All right, Kev, I got to ask you.
Where was that?
Going away from, you got to frame that thing. No, you got to see. So going from 10U baseball to, obviously, you got state baseball, state soccer, state track. Is this, this has to be pretty close to your busiest week of the year.
Without question.
And the capital city is representing.
And our local teams from Lincoln have done phenomenal. Look at the girls' state soccer tournament. 3 of the 4 semifinalists were from Lincoln.
Yep.
You had an all-Lincoln final for the first time between Lincoln Pius X and Lincoln Southwest. And if you guys didn't catch it, that game was everything that everyone wanted it to be. It was intense. There was late drama, sudden death shootout. People are going to talk about that match for years to come. And Coach Nettleton, he's just such an amazing guy and coach. So super happy for him and his program. But we've got, and now in baseball, we said about a month ago at the 10-11 sports department that we were in position likely to have 3 state baseball champions from our area. And it's trending in that direction. I am not surprised one bit. Lincoln East is the favorite in Class A. Norris is the favorite in Class B. And I would be stunned if Norris doesn't win it this year. And Malcolm is the favorite in Class C. And all 3 of those teams are playing at 10 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is I watched Malcolm on Tuesday. I just wanted to see Coach Porter's, their recruiting prowess, and because he's going to Omaha, and all he did was consistently. I think he threw 14 or 15 pitches between 90 and 92.
Yeah.
So he was very good against the Colonels. And then yesterday I watched. Who did I? Oh, so yesterday was DC West, and I watched the Colonels again. And this is interesting. Kevin, because I hadn't seen, everybody's like, oh, appreciate or whatever coming out. I'm like, I haven't seen one Class A baseball game yet live. But one thing I will tell you about Lincoln, of this state tournament, but one thing I will tell you about Lincoln East is quietly, they remind me, this run that Lincoln East is on, it reminds me about 6-7 years ago when I was watching some of the middle schoolers. And I said, you know what? Millard South is going to be a problem here in the next handful of years. And then the Urbans and all those guys get to high school.
In football.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's exactly how I feel about Lincoln East in baseball and in football, because there is a really, really good young crop of footballers that's going to make Lincoln East continue to be attractive.
Yeah, and I talked to Coach Lonick before the state tournament. He's the Lincoln East head baseball coach, and
he's intense.
He's a ball coach. I'll just say that. But I really like Coach Lonick.
I do too. I do too.
That's guy that wants to win, and he holds such a high standard, and he's got the right group for it, the way that he coaches his team. But he went back to the 7th grade year for the senior class. Like he kind of identified then. Part of it was skill level. Part of it is the parents.
Yep.
And, they're just baseball families. Garrett Springer could be a 3-sport star. He's a baseball guy. And, we did a story the day before the state tournament on Lincoln East. And one of the things I wanted to do was put on a graphic all the college-bound players on this one high school baseball team from Lincoln.
Yep.
There are 15 of them. I couldn't fit all the names on the graphic. I had to go with their starting lineup, which, again, 9. They're all going to play college in some capacity. They have 9 Division I prospects. This is a college baseball team playing Class A baseball.
Yep.
And it's the best high school baseball team I can remember over the past 20 years in Lincoln. And I say that extremely confidently.
I can't tell you how important – this is a guy that coaches at the high school level, and I've seen a ton.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how important the parent demeanor and aspect of what happens on the field is actually a direct correlation. Like it's not a coincidence. It's not. It's like, because you get a specific kind of kid, and I'm not saying 1 versus 2. I'm saying how they were raised and the tools that they come with from a competitive standpoint, emotionally, are sometimes way more important than the physical. The physical is always great, but that structure is way underappreciated because your team can sometimes take on the demeanor of how you're raised at home. It's unbelievable.
And we're not talking about parents that yell at the umpires or are really hard on the kids. No, they just identify that this is something, is that it's what their sons really enjoy.
Yep.
So they kind of went all in. They just dove into the deep end of the pool, and they've given those boys insane opportunities to grow in something that they love. I think that's a big part of that.
Totally matters.
With the parent thing. And guys, we can't leave out Lincoln Northwest. This story is Disney story, Disney movie stuff. A team that was next to last in Class B before the postseason began. They are one of 4 teams left. Matt Faulkner has done just an amazing job. And our whole community's gotten swept up in Falcon fever right now. They weren't supposed to be out of the first round of districts. They're in the state semifinals. It's an incredible story.
We drove past there on the way to Marquette on Friday. I still can't get over that facility. It's incredible.
The facility at Lincoln Northwest?
Yes.
New campus. I mean,
and that's what it looks like. It looks like a college campus.
Yeah, they've got some things to figure out. Logistical issues, putting a white wall in the batter's eye, that's not ideal. They should be playing there all the time. But hopefully after you go to the state semifinals, you can make some corrections to get things right, because everything that's within the control for Coach Faulkner and those boys. And I got to tell you, that's a special group of young men right there. The mental capacity to take your lumps through the regular season, win 6 games in the regular season, but then go to the semis. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That is Kevin Suits, 1011 News in Lincoln. Kevin, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. You be well, boys.
Thanks.
how to kill all mosquitoes in the area in just minutes. This simple but brilliant trick you can do tonight to eliminate all mosquitoes.
And the 2-2. Swing and a miss. He got him chasing outside. And the first strikeout of the game. First Omaha trying to get a run. The pitch. Swing and a miss. He climbed the ladder with a fastball and struck him out. It skirts into foul territory.
His terms.
So now here's Teddy Dieters. First pitch swinging. High fly ball into center. Going to be plenty deep enough to score the run. The full count pitch is swung on, hit in the air. Right field, drifting back. Almost to the track and making the catch in scoring position.
Crowd just under 10,000. There's a ball ripped into right field for a base hit by Jack Tarosian.
Trying to start a 2-out rally here in the 8th. The pitch, swing and a miss. He struck him out. And Casey Trapp comes in and closes the door of opportunity on the Mavericks. Jays are 3 outs away. Go ahead run at second. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Jays win. Is Sherman in the blue. East into left center. Pitch swinging, high fly on to second is Matt Sherman. So it has been a rocky start for Cardinals. It skirts into foul territory right in front of the plate. Only one play. That's to first, and it's a wild throw, and that's going to score a run. It skirts into foul territory, and on to second is Matt Sherman. So it has been a rocky start for Carter Navin.
On his terms.
So now here's Teddy Dieters. First pitch swinging, high fly ball into center. Going to be plenty deep enough to score the run as Getzman chased into left center. Tagging and scoring is Sherman, and the Blue Jays take advantage. The full count pitch is swung on, hit in the air, right field, drifting back, almost to the track and making the catch. Teddy Dieters hauls.
You're listening to Herd at Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Herd at Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lula, and we are brought to you by our friends at the Team Jack Foundation. Go to teamjackfoundation.org to get involved. You can either donate directly right on that webpage there. You can see the events that they've got coming up, and you can see the projects and impact that they are having with the over $12 million they've raised to date to fight childhood brain cancer. They're looking for better treatments and one day a cure. Make sure you get to teamjackfoundation.org to get involved. Really good stuff there. The last couple of guests with BC and our guy Kevin Suits. Man, this is a super busy week.
Yeah,
like it's a little crazy.
Yeah,
because people always talk about like, oh, the state basketball, listen, I get it's hectic. I get there's a lot going on with state basketball. You literally have 3 separate state championships happening essentially simultaneously. Like they stagger them a little bit, but it's basically
talking about between baseball, soccer, and track.
Yeah, you have 3 all-class state championships going on over the course of like 10 total days, and it's bonkers.
It's and it's going to be highly competitive too. Like just some really, really high quality athletes like participating. Yeah. And I get it too. I just was thinking about the Lincoln Northwest situation, trying to finish the construction on a lot of different things. because we drive by it a fair amount. I don't know why it seems like I'm always heading to west, but
in that direction.
Because we saw it. I saw it firsthand at Nebraska, and those are things that were fairly well mapped out, and money's accounted for, and construction, and there are things in that new complex that they would do differently or haven't been completed yet because there were hiccups in the design, or last minute something falls through. So it's a lot more complicated to just put it together and map it out than I think people think. Because again, when he said that about Lincoln Northwest, I immediately thought to this weekend, and I'm like, there are so many little things within that infrastructure of the new complex that they're going to do differently and already have done differently than the original design.
Well, and it's kind of
walkable space, usable space, functionality. Like, I mean, they swapped out so much equipment. It's just the training table, for instance, food stations versus buffet setups and live cooking, like just those little things. Because he mentioned the white background. I mean, and that's something sometimes I don't think you give thought to. Like, we've actually built stadiums facing the wrong way, so let's not act like we
well, no, so it's
we can't miss the big stuff.
Kind of a good analogy for the Nebraska football program in general, right? Is it's way more complicated than people think, and there's way more going on in terms of decision making and things that you have to account for than people necessarily give it credit for. That's part of the reason that Coach Rhule's attention to detail that we keep hearing about, whether it's just from his comments or hearing from Dr. Elza or Sean Patton last week or whatever, right? His ability to, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the way he communicates and the way it connects with me and how I feel about sports, is his ability to articulate and communicate and vision the abstract changes a lot of things, because that's what you're talking about when you're talking about facilities, right? Until it's built and you can see, we messed that up, or that works really well, you don't really know. Like, you can put the plans down on paper and you can go do this and that and whatever, but until you're walking through it, or you're going like 2 years from now, they're probably going to see something and be like, I wish we had done this a little bit different because this doesn't work exactly how we want it to.
I wish I could explain like an example of what you're talking about, but I don't have the exact pictures. But I told you the walkthrough room that has the carpet and the screens just outside the sliding doors overlooks the grass facility and the practice facility. He's like, we need to be utilizing that roof space. I'm like, how are you going to utilize a roof? Right.
And that's the patio thing you were talking about.
And he's like, composite, you change the floor. You could do it relatively inexpensive. You make that a social gathering area where people can watch practice, or you can do meet and greets. Like, we can just be constructive, or how to change the space in the atrium and make it more functional. And it's like, it's not even his money, but he's a good steward.
Yeah.
So let's go back to what you said 3 weeks ago. And it's biblical, and I think so you kind of rounded about, but it's nothing you have to apologize for. But when he gave the box reference and picking up boxes, and
he who can be trusted with little can be trusted with much.
Yeah. Just being a good steward with the little things so you can be entrusted with big things. It's not really his dime, but he still wants to maximize the efficiency of the expenditure. It's just like pulling up grass, right? They had to relay the sod and redo the turf. And he's like, look, and instead of seeing what else is out there in terms of all these other worldwide experts, we have the best in the business that's right over here on East Campus. Why don't we use her? Let's save some money.
And use the resources we have at our disposal.
She's 6 minutes. She's a straight shot down Holdridge. Like from the campus.
Yeah.
Right. So it's little things like that where it just trickles into the program. When it comes to X's and like, what time to be out there? Why is this important? What are we addressing? Hey, when you're wearing your catapults, why why does the 80% matter? Why do you not want to be on this list pre-practice? Yes, you still get to practice, but you're in like the danger zone. Like, why put yourself there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or it's just the little things that I think is huge.
Well, and it's, the margins matter, right? That's where
especially when you haven't been very good.
Especially when you haven't been very good, and especially when you've been losing in the nature that Nebraska has been losing, right? The margins are where you lose those games. And so whether it's, trying to be cost effective by putting, new grass down, or whether it's being cost effective by using all the space in a new expensive facility, I also think there's, and maybe I'm giving him too much credit here. I probably am not, but maybe I am. I think there's a part of it that he appreciates, that he knows where the money comes from too, right? Like, he understands, like, yes, Nebraska essentially has an endless supply of funds. Like, anything he's asked for or needed, he's gotten, right? Like, that's whether it's from 1890, whether it's from the university, whether it's whatever it is, from boosters, whoever, anything he's wanted or asked for or needed, done, right? Not an issue. But he still understands that money comes from someplace, and those places, at the end of the day, like, you roll it back far enough, the money comes from normal people, whether it's from the commitment to the program, whether it's from like actual ticket sales or booster dollars or whatever. You roll it back far enough, and it comes from normal people. And I think he appreciates that. That's a choice that normal, regular Nebraskans make to support this thing that he's trying to do.
Yeah, like the Peds, right? They built that business.
Yeah. Whether it's
they built that business.
Yeah, whether it's the Peds in 1890, whether it's just a guy that has season tickets, and that's a big expenditure for him, right? Like, or for him and his family or whoever. Like, that's where this money comes from. And if you understand that, you're not as wasteful, right? Like, it's the people who have always had money, whether you come from a wealthy family or whatever, versus the people that ended up doing well later in life. Like, they treat money differently a lot of the time. And that's not to say that people who come from wealthy families can't be good stewards, but when you have a better understanding of what it's like not to have money, like, he's been at Temple. He's not had money before at programs, right? He talks about coming from, meager beginnings with, his dad's a preacher and a high school football coach. Like, spoiler alert, those people don't make any money. Like,
especially then.
Right? Like, there's an appreciation.
Like, he doesn't even want to buy a car.
Well, I mean, usually probably doesn't have to.
He's like, what do I know? I'm just
yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that isn't everybody that's been on that campus. Let's not act like.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, yeah, I was about to say, relax
yes.
over there.
No, I get it, right?
Yeah.
Like, now he could probably call a dealership and be like, hey, you want to provide Coach Ruler's car? But you're right. There's some people that just take that for granted. They go, oh, well, yeah, there's definitely going to be money for me to have a car, or there's definitely going to be, like, there is.
That's why I picked the food I was reluctant to pick the food out of the trays.
Because you don't want to be wasteful.
I didn't want to be wasteful. Because he makes it just.
Well, because it's an infectious trait, right? Like, the things that he cares about, we talked about it.
I waited. I was like, oh God, I don't want to be the guy that goes through the line and takes out all the good stuff. But I wanted to be the guy that waited in line and took out all the good stuff.
But at least you waited,
man. I did.
At least you waited, so you didn't.
And then I waited till they were about to take them off the warmers, and I was like,
at least you didn't just leave everybody else with pasta and sauce. You know?
I was like, hey man, we good now? He's like, if you ask me that again, I was like,
it's a challenge.
I was looking out, man.
Yeah, you try and be considerate. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But there's certain parts about his personality, whether it's the, you brought it up earlier, the taking credit thing, right? Like, you pass on those compliments. That's a thing that's become infectious around that campus. You pass those.
That's
right along.
probably the only thing I really grilled him over.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, man, just shoot me straight.
Which part?
Is it a conscious effort to deflect the praise and absorb the criticism? And after a couple of expletives and a head tilt, he's like, come on, bro, do you think it's just, and then he walked me through how you just naturally come by that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being appreciative of those people that are working with you and understanding what they go through. He goes, if you're in tune with the people that you work with around you, he said, it's not near as hard as you think.
You know what it reminds me of? Somebody asked Dylan Morello about the extra throwing session. And he goes, oh, yeah, man, those wide receivers always want to get work in. I can't tell them no.
Yeah, good point. Because that's kind of
it's really easy to be like, oh man, I like to stay on my grind and whatever, and like, oh no, man, I can't say no when the wide receivers want to work. You gotta love it. Kendall Rogers coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Radio.
First pitch to Evans. We will be back. Welcome to Herd at Sports Radio. First pitch to Evans. Cole swings and hits one in the air to center. That's hit pretty well. Matheson going back to the wall. That ball is gone. Cole Evans is the hero. On senior night, a walk-off 3-run homer by Cole Evans.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Herd at Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, And for this third hour, KFOR in Lincoln, that's DB. I'm Ravi Lula here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we are joined now by Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball. Kendall, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Kendall, I'm a lot better now that my Tar Heels appear to have a pulse and are making a move, man. So all is good here in Omaha.
They are, man. Hector 20 and 27 in the ACC right now.
You know what? I think the polishing off of Louisville to win the Coastal, like I actually, and believe me, as you know, many times I've had my heart broken. I kind of like their makeup because they're grimy. So we could probably start right there, man. How do you kind of describe this team coming on as of late?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me with looking at North Carolina is the fact that, they've had some injuries on the mound. Folger Boaz, he was a Friday guy for them and up and out for the year. And they just continue to just truck on. And I think anytime you can do that as a team, I think that's really impressive. And it's just, it's one of those clubs, Vance Honeycutt's had a really good year for them offensively.
Yeah.
And when somebody's kind of gone down, there's been somebody else there to kind of pick it up. And so anytime you kind of have that tells me that you have a really good clubhouse. And, they're a club that they've kind of beat up on the middle, the lower half of the ACC. They've lost a couple of series against the better teams. But they do have a series win on the road against Wake.
Kendall.
Yeah, I like their club a lot.
Let's stick in the ACC there for a minute, because as much as he likes North Carolina, I kind of feel that same way about Florida State. Level of, I guess, surprise, if any at all, that they were able to turn things around from a real struggle bus in Link Jarrett's first season at the helm to what they've been this year.
Well, I was really surprised they struggled last year. I mean, they were a club that I thought last year, I thought he was going to make an immediate impact because of what he did at Notre Dame, right? We all saw it in Omaha. But, things didn't kind of, turn out as planned last year. And then this year, they've got one of the better, Friday pitchers in college baseball, and Jamie Arnold, the front end. They're finally getting healthy on the mound. Connor Whitaker's back. Carson Dorsey's done a really nice job on the mound, the rotation, and their absence. But the thing that I really liked about them is just their offense with James Tibbs and, Cam Smith, and the list kind of goes on. They've got power at the top. They've got balance in that lineup. And again, if they can get healthy on the mound, which it seems like they're getting healthier, it seems like they're going to get, lighter back at some point here in the next few weeks. If they can get healthy on the mound, and then it helps with Whitaker coming back, I think they can not only get to Omaha, I think they can make a run and win the national championship. I think their pitching when they're healthy is that good.
Hey, Kendall, did you see Georgia coming on like this?
I did not at all, actually. I liked their transfer class. I really did. I thought getting guys like Colby Branch and whatnot were nice pickups. But, I wondered, hey, can Condon replicate what he did last year? Not only has he replicated what he did, he's been way better. He's made the Player of the Year race basically, hey, who's the second best player in college baseball? And so, his rise has been impressive. But the thing I like about Georgia is if you look up and down their lineup, Corey Collins, he was a highly, respected, highly sought after high school recruit. And we've kind of been waiting for him to have just a monster year. And, he's an older guy. He's had a lot of at-bats. He's, had a great year. I really like what they have behind the plate and Fernando Gonzalez. He's a really good leader. He's got some pop in his bat. Trey Phelps gives him some electricity. And then on the mound, Wes Johnson's really done a nice job considering what they have. I mean, they don't have an ultra deep pitching staff, but Brian Zeldin's really done a nice job as a transfer. Leighton Finley, really solid arm. Chandler Marsh is back and healthy. And then you look at the rise of Colton Smith. To me, that is the guy to circle, because that to me is the key to them getting to Omaha. He's pitched really, really well over the last few weeks. He pitched well against A&M and College Station a few weeks ago against one of the better lineups in college baseball. And so he's kind of the X factor for me. If he continues to pitch at that kind of level, they can go on a run. There's zero doubt in my mind.
One of the Player of the Year come out of this next potential series between Caglione and Condon?
Oh, it'll be Condon. I mean, Cagli's had a nice year, whatnot. Offensively, it's been a great year. But he's just so far behind Condon in the pecking order right now. We just look at the overall numbers. It's kind of crazy. I mean, the thing about Condon, the thing I really like about him is for somebody that good, you would think they're kind of a loud, loud, in your face kind of personality. You think of like Drew Gilbert a couple of years ago, right? When he had that great year for Tennessee, and it was always just bat flips and doing silly stuff. And Condon is like a professional hitter, man. Like it's almost like he's a big leaguer already. Like he goes up there, hits a bomb, he'll give everybody a thumbs up, and that's pretty much it.
Especially to be like 6'6", right? Like his presence would seem to kind of command that too.
Yeah, well, and what's also interesting about Charlie is he's got great launching on his swing, and he's not like a huge guy, like physically, like you talk about how tall he is, but it's not like he's not 6'5", 6'6", 240 pounds. The dude, I mean, he looks like he's about 220 pounds at 6'6", which is not very big. So, yeah, he's just got, he's got a really nice launch angle on his swing, and again, just everything that he does, and frankly, with this entire Georgia lineup, everything they do is hard contact. They are up there looking to destroy a baseball. Kind of reminds me of when I watched George Springer against Brian Mattis at San Diego many years ago. And I remember watching Springer and going, man, I have never seen somebody violently hit a baseball like that. Charlie Condon hit the baseball harder than he does. And that was impressive back then.
We're talking with Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball. Kendall, so I'm kind of looking through RPIs and rankings and kind of trying to figure out, obviously here in Omaha, I kind of want to get a feel on what the field might look like. Is there a team kind of outside of that top group? We've talked about some of those teams, whether it's Georgia or North Carolina or Florida State or a lot of those names that have come up. Is there somebody outside of that main group that you look at and say, I actually kind of really like the way they're set up to maybe make a run to Omaha?
Yeah, I think the really interesting team for me is Louisiana out of the Sun Belt. They were a club that earlier this year when I saw them, they were not very offensive. They've gotten a lot more offensive. They've got some nice pieces on the mound. They're a club to me that is more kind of situated for a super than they are a regional. If they can get through a regional, they've got a really good Friday guy, Andrew Herman. Chase Morgan, a freshman for them, is really good on Saturdays. LP Langvin, the reliever, is one of the better relievers in college baseball. And so they've got some really nice pieces. And I think, their RPI is like 49 because they had a couple of bad losses early on. Somehow they lost the series to Rice. I don't know how that was even possible, but that's really killed them from an RPI standpoint. But, they're leading the Sun Belt, which is a top 5 conference by 3 games. And Matt Deggs has had a really good year there.
How good is Bazana out at Oregon State when you look at kind of the national numbers that he's put up historically in that program?
No, it's crazy, man. And honestly, with Florida being on the rocks right now, I'm kind of hoping Oregon State gets on a run because I like in Omaha, I like America to kind of see our superstars in the sport. And with CAG's probably off the board, I kind of want Oregon State to make a run because Bazana is special, man. I mean, you talk about Condon, and to me, he's Bazana's the runner-up. I mean, you look at the job that he's done this year. He's got 67 walks on the year for the Beavers, and he's hitting well over 400. He's got over 20 bombs. He is just a do-it-all guy, man. And I know a lot of people just naturally think Condon's going to be the top overall pick, but do not be surprised if Travis Bazana is the top overall. There are some pro teams that most definitely prefer Bazana over Charlie Condon.
Kendall, how many teams do you think should legitimately have national title aspirations at this point in the season?
Man, 20? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think
that's incredible. That's incredible.
That's a big number.
Yeah, I think this is the most wide open we've been in college baseball. I mean, here's the thing. So you look at the top teams, right? So Tennessee, they've only lost 1 series in conference, but I mean, it's not like they just absolutely just massacred everybody. You look at Arkansas, they've got really good pitching with Hagen Smith and Brady Tigert in their bullpen, but their offensive slash numbers are not very impressive. We all kind of thought A&M was that juggernaut, and I still think they're really good. I think when they're playing the best, they're probably the best team in college baseball. But I mean, they got shut down by LSU and Ole Miss the last 2 weekends, so you got to, if there's a team playing them, you got to think, hey, if those guys can as bad a year as they're having, we can beat them. So my point is I think this is one of those years, especially with just how much the ball is flying, that it wouldn't shock me if we saw a team that went in as a 2 seed win the national championship. It really would not. This is just one of those kind of years, and it kind of makes the road to Omaha pretty exciting. Maybe we see some new faces in Omaha because of this. I'm thinking of East Carolina on this one. I would like to see East Carolina finally make a run. That is a program, man, that, like, if there is a program in college baseball that deserves to go to Omaha, it's those guys. I mean, they've had their heart broken so many times. We thought that one year, was it 2 years ago, they had a national seed, and we're like, okay, they finally can get to Omaha. Then you look across there and see their super regional pairing, and they've got to play Texas. And there's nobody you'd want to play less to get to Omaha than Texas.
I literally was just going to ask, if you're going to take some just hanging around, like kind of those teams, I was going to ask you who you like between Oklahoma, ECU, and Irvine. And it's like you like ECU.
Yeah, I think I would go ECU there. I think as long as ECU's healthy, Zach Ruth, their Saturday starter, is out with an injury right now. He's expected to come back. It's just a nagging deal. But, I mean, with him and Trey Yasevich on Friday nights, that's as good of a 1-2 punch as you're going to find in college baseball. It might be the best 1-2 punch in college baseball. So as long as Zach Ruth's healthy in the postseason, I think they're golden. But when he's not healthy, like this past weekend, it can be messy, i.e. losing a series of Tulane somehow.
I gotta say, Kendall, as somebody who, has grown up going to the College World Series, and we're both, lifelong Omaha guys, I gotta tell you, the amount of ECU gear that would get sold in Omaha with that pirate logo is just off the charts. Like, you can't even, like, we're talking Coastal Carolina Raging Cajun level of merch sales here.
Well, if we're not going to have LSU there for the Jello shots, we got to have somebody else to sell some merch. So I'll tell you what, don't downplay ECU fans on that Jello shot competition. Those people know how to party, man.
Hey, speaking of which, what happened to LSU, Kendall?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me with LSU is they, until I would say recently, until the A&M series, they had really struggled on the mound, and they've actually pitched a little bit better as of late. But they're just really inconsistent. They're one of those teams that, on the days they pitch well, they can't hit. On the days they hit well, they can't pitch. And that's just not a recipe for success. They don't have a lot of, high-level pitching depth. I mean, outside of their starting pitchers, Griffin Herring's one of the best relievers in college baseball. But outside of Herring, I mean, that's a very, very lean bullpen. And, as we've seen with the way Georgia hits, A&M hits, Tennessee hits, have very little pitching depth in that league, you're going to get absolutely crushed.
Let me ask you, if you're kind of looking at this field and you're looking at seedings, how important is it if it's a deep field and you may be a 2 or 3 paired with some national seeds that you want to be on the back end, like 9 through 16 of the national seeds? Is this like a huge year for you more than others in terms of where the middle of the pack may be seated compared to the national seeds?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think as you look at the potential fields out there, I think there are a lot of really good-looking 2 seeds. Like, for instance, this year, Southern Miss is a household name, a team that, has been in supers over the last couple of years. They'll be a 2 seed. Louisiana, we just talked about them. They'll be a 2 seed. Texas, who's second in the Big 12, will be a 2 seed.
Is Oregon a 2?
Yeah, we're going to be a 2. Here's the thing that's really interesting this year is if you look at the RPIs of the West Coast teams, the West is very much down, and the good teams in that area, they have just gotten torpedoed by the fact that the area as a whole is down. Oregon's RPI is around like 55. Utah, who's second or tied for third in the Pac-12, their RPI is 71. So it's been a really rough year for the West Coast in college baseball. And frankly, I mean, this is for a much larger discussion down the road. But like, I'm a little worried about the whole region as a whole because as you see, UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten. We all know about the NIL money in that league, the NIL money in the SEC. Now the ACC is getting hot and heavy in it. I just really worry about those core West Coast teams. And we talk about brand names and things like that. How about UCLA this year, guys? 2013 national champion, been to Omaha numerous times. They are dead last in the Pac-12 this year.
It's and then you look at a team like Arizona, who appears to have a mini resurgence, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's very odd. It's kind of crazy. I kind of love it because you don't know what to expect in college baseball these days. But I guess from a fan in Omaha, you really love it because there's a pretty good chance you'll get some new names in Omaha this year.
We floated out. This is anecdotal, but we floated out last week and early this week. It seems like college baseball is the last of the. It still seems like an older veteran bunch, and we were trying to figure out why baseball has lent itself. Even college basketball had some good seniors, but it's kind of coming back to, freshmen having impact again. Football, we know older, mature teams were winning, but it's not quite as old as it looks as baseball looks. What is it about college baseball that's allowed these teams to get old and stay old, maybe more so than some of these other sports?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is you look at like the success that some of these programs have had with the Ivy Leagues. The Ivy Leagues don't have grad school for the athletes, so they have to go somewhere. And it's part of this whole COVID year stuff. And you go around the country. We talked about Brian Zeldin at Georgia earlier, the reliever. He's an Ivy League guy. You look at A&M. Two of their better hitters, Hayden Schott and Jackson Appel. What are they? They're Ivy Leaguers. So. Yeah. As you look around the country, there's so many schools that have taken advantage of the Ivy Leaguers and some of these smaller northern private schools. And the other thing about baseball, too, and I think this is really important, probably more so than any other sport, there is nothing more important than baseball than having a lot of at-bats. It's why, or a lot of innings pitched.
Gotcha.
Every single year, when we're picking potential national champions or teams in Omaha, that's always why I'm going, hey, if this team has a bunch of seniors, I feel really good about them because – I look at like A&M's lineup, for instance. I only mention them because they've got so many old guys. But if you go look at A&M's lineup between Ted Burton, Hayden Schott, Jackson Appel, I'm pretty sure I have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's like over 1,000 at bats in college. That is massive.
Kendall, I want to ask about Nebraska. We were talking about teams that are likely 2 seeds. I think they probably fall in that bunch. But a couple questions on the Huskers. Is there a path for them if they make a run in the Big Ten tournament to still host at all in your mind? And what do you think the ceiling for this team is in the NCAA tournament?
Well, the pathway to hosting, they're going to need some help. They're going to need some teams to fall back in the pack, and they're also going to need to go on a crazy run in the tournament, which means they're probably going to need to sweep through that thing without losing a game. Unfortunately, it's just kind of the position they're in, especially considering the competition. I think this Nebraska team is really interesting. I saw them earlier this year at Globe Life, and the one thing I really liked is I thought that, and I haven't seen them since in person, but the thing I really liked about them back then was I felt like they had some really high quality options on the mound. I thought from the starters to the bullpen, I liked what I saw. I really liked the middle of that lineup. And so I know they've been a little up and down in the last month or so, but I think they have a pretty high ceiling. Do I think they can probably get to Omaha? They're gonna need to get a very favorable draw, in my opinion. But they've got the potential. There's certainly enough talent there to get to a regional.
Kendall, do you think for the seedings, obviously you're always looking at crowds and maybe balance? Is there anything about if Nebraska were to get on a heater through the Big Ten tournament where it would be advantageous for them to be a host to the committee?
Well, they're within range. Remember, they seed 1 through 16, and they're not supposed to consider geography at all.
I keep hearing that.
Yeah, supposedly. But, here's the thing. Let's be honest. Nebraska is a northern team, and if they can find a way to win the Big Ten tournament, get in that 20 to 22 range, would it surprise me if they host in that scenario? Not at all.
Oh, I'm with. That's the only. We talked about it for the last week or so because people kind of wrote it off, but. A heater versus, gosh, it would be nice to kind of shake it up a little.
Yeah.
I could see them getting a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then in the city of Omaha, you got the best worst team ever. You got Creighton, who absolutely dominated non-conference, but somehow can't win games in the Big East. That is going to be one of the better teams to not have a chance to make the postseason.
Yep, you're 100.
We've been talking about
all
year.
It's mind-boggling, and they have one of the better players, I think, in the region, certainly if not in the country, in Nolan Sailors. That I was just like, I just want him on the national stage so people could see him in the postseason too, because he's a fantastic
they're
hitter.
good,
He's
man.
a
Like, I can't figure
fantastic
out-
hitter.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. Like what? I mean, I know the Big East is better this year, but that's a good team, and like the fact that they're not even going to make the conference tournament is just mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking because it's such a weird because so like Nebraska, for instance, has struggled midweek, but they do okay on the weekends. It's to do with their pitching options and whatever, and so you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But that hasn't been the case for Creighton. They played good teams on the weekends in the non-con and beat them. They've played good teams in the midweek in the non-con, and like they took 2 from Coastal Carolina, who's a really good team, and then they've taken 3 from Nebraska, who's a really good team, and then they just cannot beat anyone in this mediocre Big East. Like we're pulling our hair out trying to figure out what this is, Kendall, and I'm glad we're not the only ones.
Trick over there.
Hey, well, let me get
doing the old Houdini act.
Let me get you out on this for a quote unquote Northern team. How high or low are you on Indiana State?
Well, I mean, you can't argue with the results at this point. I mean, Mitch Hannah, the guy's doing it again. Last year they did that. We thought that, I wouldn't say we thought they were a fraud, but I mean, we thought like, hey, this RPI can't be real. I'll tell you what, I saw them in Fort Worth in that Super. That was a really good team. And so I think the fact that they lost, Jasic and they lost, their other weekend starter, and they just continued to have that level of success. I mean, I don't think people realize how difficult it is for a program like Indiana State to be that good in back-to-back years. So I'm ultra impressed, and I think they're 100% deserving their top 16. I mean, the results speak for itself, and they've earned cachet after last year.
That's Kendall Rogers from D1 Baseball. Kendall, we'll have to catch up here in just about a month now when you're up here in Omaha. You can come hang out with us.
Looking forward to it,
You got it, brother.
We'll see you.
I look forward to seeing you guys. Thank you.
We appreciate it. That's Kendall Rogers from D1 Baseball. We're at Sports Partners with D1 Baseball during the College World Series. So you'll get a ton of content from us and them. Again, starting in about a month here. It's creeping up on us pretty quick here, DB.
I kind of you asked me like a sneaky team that I like that's coming off the grid. Maybe a little.
Who's that?
I don't like to say this because Oklahoma Tyler will like, oh, it's Oklahoma. Kind of scrappy. They could get a decent draw too.
Can you imagine? Like it would be such a strange thing to happen if after all the success and all the Omaha teams that Mike Martin threw out at Florida State, that Link Jarrett breaks through and wins the national title.
Yeah, and he's such a super guy.
Yeah.
And they survived, a succession hire where kind of almost set their program back. Then they bring in Jarrett, and they're like, you guys going to return?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, just give me a year. I got it.
Give me a minute. We got this. But that would be the ultimate irony for him to be able to break through where Coach Martin never was.
I know you didn't see it last week, but Carolina wore the powder blues with the white pinstripe. Ooh. They were so saucy.
You know me, I love a powder blue.
And they got the brooms out.
And I love a pinstripe. That's a good combo for me. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lula. We'll be back here on Herd Out Sports Radio in just a minute.
We will be back. 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 Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Right in front of the plate, only one play. That's to first, and it's a wild throw, and that's going to score a run. It skirts into foul territory, and on to second is Matt Sherman. So it has been a rocky start for Carter Navin. Trying to start a two-out rally here in the eighth pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and Casey Trapp comes in and closes the door of opportunity on the Mavericks.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lula here on the Pillar Exterior stage and reminding you to get out to the War Horse Sportsbook, either at the casino in Lincoln or at Horseman's Park in Omaha. It's the best place to place your sports bets in the state of Nebraska. Got PGA Championship coming up this week. I don't know. Scotty Scheffler was what, plus 400?
Plus 400.
Pretty good value on a guy that's winning a lot right now.
Tough course.
It is a tough course, but I don't know.
I'm pretty
I like my value on my futures.
I'm pretty dialed. You know what you need to watch more of?
What's that?
UFL.
You know, I watched some this weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Is that a bandwidth thing?
Yeah, I think so. Right now, especially, like, if we get past kind of this section, I'll have a little bit more time. But I wonder if you can. I haven't looked. I wonder if you can do UFL at Warhorse.
I have no idea.
Because that would get me in.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna put some. Can I put some player props on my guy Amart? I don't know. We'll see. But you can go find out Get a full
I wonder
list.
what his odds are to win the MVP.
Well, it's got to be up there now.
He's probably second, I bet.
Yeah. You can find out, though, everything you need to know, Warhorse Sportsbook or warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook for all the house rules and a full list of details. It's Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to, like, once we get past this kind of stretch here where we're kind of a little crazy busy.
Crazy busy or just busy?
I think it's crazy busy this time of year.
Yeah, he's going to be a spectator this weekend watching a couple heavyweights fight. That was Wilder.
Yeah,
to this day.
To this day.
I still don't. I'm still a little disappointed in how that's gone.
Why? Are you a Wilder guy?
I like that level of power in a puncher.
I like the fact he's fighting so his daughter and family can eat.
Well,
my man didn't start boxing until he was like 60.
So I appreciate the late bloomer. I do.
That's so
what?
PC.
He's a late bloomer.
Yeah, okay, I'll take it.
He didn't get going until later. He was a football guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. Needed to figure out a way to make some money.
Like Gene Wilder?
Yeah, like Gene Wilder. He got into the game late a little bit. Like I appreciate, or no, who's the other guy?
Kenny, Nate, Levante,
Taylor,
Sam,
Taylor. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's another Gene Hackman. That's what I was thinking of. Are you talking about Gene Hackman, not Gene Wilder, Shane? Is that what you meant?
No.
Is Gene Wilder a late bloomer too?
Just because of his last name. That's why I was talking about him.
Wow.
Oh yeah, come on.
Unbelievable.
Come on.
Unbelievable.
Gene Hackman.
Stay with me here.
No, I will not.
Stay with me. Follow me.
Follow me.
I am absolutely not following you.
Is that Uncle Cracker?
No, maybe.
Who did Follow Me? Follow me.
That is Uncle Cracker, I think.
I knew Shannon those guys used to like that song.
No, I liked
producers.
It's flickering.
I have a fascination. You know how some people have kind of these fascination with these explosive dunkers in basketball or whatever. Like I have a fascination with guys that can just put you out with one punch.
Yeah.
And Wilder was always that guy. Like not a great boxer, obviously, and that kind of goes against. He's my Vince Carter.
I love Vince Carter.
Yeah, but he doesn't really fit what you normally like, right?
No, because he was a little soft,
like personality wise.
Yeah.
Like normally,
he wanted to quit at Carolina.
Yeah.
He worked his way out of Toronto.
Yeah, he wasn't necessarily, great teammate, great, whatever.
But he got so much. Well, he
got so much better about that as he got older.
Yeah.
So you appreciate the maturation process. But like Wilder is a guy that doesn't really fit what I typically like about boxing, and that's probably
because you're a big skill guy, right?
Yeah, that's why. Honestly, that's why, and it's not just because he's from Omaha, although that certainly helps.
Are you a boxing historian?
I don't know about historian, but I really appreciate
you'd like Rod Lyle and Ernie Shavers.
I loved Ernie Shavers.
George Foreman.
Big Foreman guy. So the Shavers is like low key one of my. I'm a Ken Norton guy.
I am not.
Okay.
I'm not a Ken Norton guy because it's hard to be any kind of guy if you're an Ali guy during that era.
So I
am, by the way,
love Ali. Go ahead.
Gene Wilder, he started his career when he was 29. I don't know if that's a late bloomer or not.
For acting? Oh, absolutely. That's a late bloomer. Not as late as Gene Hackman, but late bloomer. Always on a delay.
He had to look it up.
That's okay.
Well, I did have to look that up.
No,
definitely.
You're okay. That's all right.
Were you a Tommy Hearns guy?
Not really. That wasn't really my era.
Julian Jackson? That's not your.
No.
That is really,
like your sweet spot. So I'm like
it's just below my sweet spot because that was the 80s, early, like late 80s, early 90s.
So I was like
incredible. Like Gerald McClellan. Like these guys could punch.
Winky Wright. Tactician. Technical.
Man, he's a better trainer than he was a fighter. Although he was a great fighter.
He had a run there.
He was a pillow puncher though.
No, he did. That's what I mean though. So like I like the technicians. I liked the technical aspect of boxing. That's kind of why Bud is sort of perfect for my eye because he's got both. Like he is technically as good as anybody. He's a savant in the ring. But then he actually
it's just funny. 6-7 years ago, remember people didn't think his punching power would travel?
Yeah, it has.
How many stoppages in a row?
More at heavier weights than he ever had at lighter weights.
11 maybe.
Something like that. It's pretty close. Or it's like 11 of his last 12, something like that. So he's got the two things that
you're an Ernie Shavers guy. That's
dude. He had heavy hands.
No, he's arguably the hardest puncher maybe ever in boxing.
Yes, That's what Ali said. Nobody ever hit him as hard as Shavers did.
Yeah.
But the reason I like Ken Norton is because this is a weird analogy. I think he's Andy Roddick.
Are you a Roddick guy because of the Millard North thing, or?
So I like the big servers, heavy forehand guys, and
Not my thing.
I appreciate other aspects. But so when I grew up watching tennis, that was the thing.
So that's why I like McEnroe.
What is that
McEnroe? That's why I didn't like McEnroe, right? Because
Mhm.
he was a little more traditional. I was like soft toss, like I was a Bjorn Borg guy, so I picked Borg in that rivalry.
Yeah.
I never liked Jimmy Connors.
Mhm.
So my next favorite tennis guys,
Yeah.
huge Agassi guy, arguably
See,
my
and
favorite.
I was a Sampras guy.
Didn't like Sampras. Didn't think he had enough versatility. Great
Yeah. Great server, and
Never liked
yeah.
Boris Becker.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything against boomers. I just like the more complete guys.
Yeah, I think because of that's how I play.
You're Goran Ivanisevic.
Ivanisevic, yeah.
Bomber.
I like those guys. I've even got a little bit of an affinity for like a John Isner. I know he doesn't because he's a banger.
The Mr. Quarterfinals, but is this the year Isner?
No, it's never was going to be the year. I knew
was
that.
like-
I knew, but honestly, because he was limited in what he did.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah. Because he was limited in what he did, he played some incredible matches because nobody could stop what he did, and he couldn't stop what anybody else was doing. So he played some incredible matches.
Who had the tennis ball last?
Yes, basically. But the reason I call Ken Norton Andy Roddick is that's a dude in another era who would have been considered, I think, an all-timer. But because of when so Roddick came up at the exact same time as Federer and Nadal. And then he got overlapped by Djokovic right at the end of it. And then in the middle of it, you had on his front end, you had a really good Leighton Hewitt. And then you had guys like Andy Murray in there as well. Like Roddick kind of got buried, but in a different era, we would have been talking about him in a much different way.
I don't know what it was. I've just never gravitated towards him.
Roddick?
And I almost, you know what I think it was?
What's that?
Is because I think locally people wanted to claim him, even though he really never embraced us locally.
Stopped here for like 2 years when he was a baby. It didn't. No, so that's really, do you
know what I mean? So I was just like, I'm not doing that.
Like Bud claims Nebraska and Omaha, right?
Oh, he's doing through.
But he's also was actually born and raised and whatever. Like he stayed here, right? So I never blamed Roddick for not claiming Omaha, but I also didn't understand us claiming him either, right? That's fine. It was really more his stylistically. But I mean, if you take Ken Norton and put him in like Larry Holmes era as opposed to the Ali, Frazier, Foreman era, we talk about Ken Norton different historically.
Maybe.
I think that's why I kind of.
I wish I would have known how committed he was to the game,
and I don't know, and that's why But that's why I compare Andy Roddick to Ken Norton, I have sort of an affinity for both.
That's not a reach. And remember, on the front end of Roddick, because I think he turned pro in 2000, you were getting the circuit last 5-6 years, because I think Agassi retired in 06. Remember, Agassi had the late.
He had the late resurge, after he got his life together. Yeah.
Where he was kind of the darling.
He won like a U.S. Open in like early 2000s. Yeah. You got the tail end of the 90s greats, and then you got this golden era of tennis. Like he got buried, and otherwise, like in a different era, he's a multiple majors guy.
You realize that segment was supposed to be about Doug Gottlieb?
Yeah, we'll maybe get to it next. We'll see what happens.
Isn't that crazy?
I really like tennis, man. I don't know. I like boxing too. More Herd at Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio on a Wednesday, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln, live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lula here on the Pillar Exterior stage. Were you a big Roy Jones guy?
No. Don't splash your mouth up.
I was just asking.
No.
That just seemed like the era.
No. There's two guys that were rivals that I liked, and it's virtually impossible for me to like Roy Jones.
So you were a B-Hop guy?
1,000%.
Okay.
And this one may sneak up on you.
Okay.
Arguably the best left hooker in the game, not named Oscar De La Hoya, James Toney.
Oh, I liked James Toney. He bounced around weight classes a lot at the end, though.
Well, he did. And, you know, he kind of got money hungry and
probably should have stayed, like light heavy was where his sweet spot was?
Yeah.
That 175 class?
So this was like 93 or 94. I had a boxing party at our apartment out at Embassy Suites. It was 93 because I was in an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was James Toney and Roy Jones.
Ooh, okay.
So it was the Pensacola Kid when I'm with all the Florida guys, Tyrone Williams, T. Fraze, all these guys that were over. And I was like the only James Toney fan in my own house. Maybe Dumas was riding with me.
Yeah.
He was so quiet you'd have never known. Dude didn't talk. And
I've noticed you gravitate towards some of those.
Dude, that dude is awesome. But yeah, I can't stand Roy Jones. So there's a guy that listens to our show, Eric. I won't give up his last name. Who's since retired from the legal system, but he does some work over at the casino.
Mm-hmm.
And we would argue about Roy Jones. We still do.
Yeah.
Like, because I just saw him a couple Sundays ago. But yeah, I'm not a Roy Jones guy.
I remember
Were you a Mosley guy?
Eh.
Vernon Forrest, any of those guys? Like the boxing was so good.
Yeah,
then.
like mid to late 90s.
Incredible.
Sugar Shane.
I was never a Mosley guy.
Yeah, I was. I wasn't like huge into Mosley at the time. There's kind of like I have a couple like weird blind spots in my kind of in like until I got older, I didn't have access to a ton of fights like high school and college.
Yeah.
And so there's some weird times in like the late 90s where I've got some blind spots on guys. So like I don't have any strong feelings about like Forrester or Mosley. But you get into the early 2000s when I get into like high school and some of my buddies like boxing, then I kind of get more into. So like I get like late career Tony more than I got prime Tony. Like I remember when he's going into like trying to fight heavyweight and like he didn't look great at that. I mean, that was too big for him, obviously. So yeah, I'll totally admit, like I'll go historian on you because I used to watch all the ESPN classic fights with like from the 50s and 60s and 70s, but then there's some weird blind spots for me in the 90s because I just didn't have access to stuff.
I was a big Michael Nunn guy.
Okay. Yeah.
Davenport's finest. And I only like, this is weird. I like Nunn because he was from just about where Roger Craig is from. He's Quad Cities guy.
Yeah.
So I had a Mazda 626.
Okay.
Silver. And my license plates, this is so, it's like a microcosm of my personality before, like yesterday when I grew up.
Yeah.
It said to
this day.
NDNUNN.
2 NDN.
Two
Second to none.
Yeah. Is that not like nothing says.
So to be clear,
did you get that from a video game?
No, I like.
I mean, I could have swore that was in like California Cruising or something on Nintendo 64.
Ask anybody that knew me. Second to none.
That's super funny.
These guys. Hey, second to none. And it was a Mazda, right? It wasn't even like sweet.
Like
it was like it had the curve back. It didn't even have the spoiler.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just like a regular
the flat back.
Yeah.
That's funny, man.
It's not that funny.
Now, to be fair, like, I think one of my email addresses when I was in high school was the one and only. So not a lot different.
Shane used to have a car that had a spoiler taller than him.
He did. Same color though. Same color as the car.
Shane, is that cobalt blue?
No, it's pearl blue.
It's electric blue.
It's electric pearl blue.
Electric.
Shane, I love you.
Hey, by the way, and this was an off-air conversation, but I want to wrap this all the way back up because I think
how long ago was it?
I think this will wrap everything up.
Like 3 days ago, probably.
No, probably like in the last month. Because you were talking about, we were talking about Gene Wilder, then it went to Gene Hackman, and then you asked me if I've ever seen The Chamber. Yeah. But let me tell you, let me throw out an actor that's in it. If you could guess who this actor is, that would encompass everything that we've been talking about over the last month. Okay. Bo Jackson's in the movie.
Yeah, he's a security guard.
Yeah.
Hey,
and that sells me on it right there. I'm gonna check it out.
Make it so bad. That was Sam's guy.
That was Sam's guy?
Like, Bo liked Sam, and Sam was allegedly a racist. And Gene Hackman it is an amazing movie. My senior year at Nebraska, it was voted on. We voted on a movie every week, and we were on a heck of a heater.
Yeah.
Like, there was just a good stretch of movies, and we watched The Chamber as a team. I've probably seen it 15 times.
Really?
It's incredible.
All you had to do is tell me Bo Jackson.
I don't even know if Chris O'Donnell was Batman yet. Was he Batman yet or Robin?
97?
6.
No, I think he was Batman in 97.
Oh, so he maybe was Robin after.
I think
this movie.
It might have. It's pretty close. It's right in that time range.
Yeah.
It's funny. You've seen Bo Jackson in The Chamber almost as much as anyone saw him in the NFL.
Oh.
So Doug Gottlieb got a job as a head basketball coach.
Oh, man. Michigan Lance must be sick. He hasn't called us in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, either that or he's mad at us. I don't know. We'll see. That's always a possibility.
It's a possibility.
So one of the more strange things that's happened in the last
what other great running back has been in movies? I mean, Jim Brown. Bo Jackson.
Jim Brown was in several.
You want us to go O.J. Simpson here? Like you're going Orenthal James on this or what?
Let's go back to what you were going to.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Let's move on from that.
That's what I thought.
At least Jim Brown could act.
Yeah, he's in Any Given Sunday too, right?
Yeah,
he's one of the coaches.
Yeah.
To this day,
I still can't believe the hire.
Back in the day.
Yeah, it's really strange for a lot of reasons. One, he's never coached before. Now I know so the other thing. So I'm reading this article about his hiring, and it really seems like they were trying to pad the resume a little bit here, in terms of like, well, he was consulting for this team then and there, and then he was, he was a finalist last time around. It's like, was he really? Because I really don't remember this talk.
No.
And they're like, oh, he was up for the Oklahoma State job, and I was like, I don't think he actually was, right? And then all of a sudden yesterday, this the social media gets rolling, and they go, it looks like Doug Gottlieb's going to be the head coach at the University of Green Bay. And maybe the weirdest part about it though is he is planning to still do his radio show, his daily radio show, while being the head coach of a Division I basketball program. So, and maybe I'm being too judgmental here. I don't know how you would do both and do either well.
So is anybody going to explain like what happened to Sundance Wicks?
He went to Wyoming.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Which is not going to be
incredible name, by the way.
Dude, he got him to, he's plus 20, right? Wins?
They were 18 and 14 last year.
Are you sure?
Almost positive.
Okay. I believe you.
They might have gotten to 20 that might have been regular season.
Do you know who I know it wasn't?
Who?
Will Ryan.
Can I just say, though, Sundance Wicks, all-time name.
Yeah.
That's a movie star name.
I don't understand. So, listen, I thought of this last night. Maybe it's just to finish the podcast up until the season.
Maybe. I don't know.
How is coaching not your full-time job?
I mean, I'm guessing he doesn't want to take the pay cut. I'm guessing he's making more as a host than he is when he would be in Green Bay. That's my guess. I don't know. I'm not in his pocket, but that's the first thing I thought was he doesn't want to give up the paycheck.
And I guess you can pre-record.
Doesn't he do a daily live show? Am I not understanding? Like, I don't think it's a podcast. I think
I'm lukewarm on Gottlieb.
I'm not a huge fan, but I think it's a daily live show. So I don't know how you would do this and then be a head coach of a Division I program.
Well, maybe what I hope happens at school. I hope nothing happens before like 11 when I can get there.
Yeah.
That's probably not realistic though.
It's sort of realistic for you.
Yeah.
Are you more concerned with like the travel, like to and from games during recruiting, all of that kind of stuff?
You talking about for Gottlieb?
Yeah, and still be available be available to do a radio show.
I just don't know how you can be all in on both those. They're both full-time jobs.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out if it is I think it's a daily radio program.
I'm just telling you, like, do you know how much television we watch?
Yes, to be able to do this at any sort of level. Like I don't know how you would do that and talk about and coach a basketball team full time. I don't know how you do it. Like, is he just all of a sudden going to talk Horizon League basketball exclusively on a show or what?
Maybe he only sleeps like an hour a day.
It might it's Horizon League, right? The Horizon.
Yeah.
Like
you're talking about
Green Bay,
the Phoenix.
Yeah. Like, you know how I remember that? This is so dumb, but they're the Phoenix Rising Horizon. That's the only. That's how I remember there.
That's something that's definitely something I would do, but I just don't want that to be the catalyst for just stop just stop messing up the product. You're cheapening the product because next thing you know,
as a coach or a host or both,
as a coach,
yeah.
Because I you know what I don't want? I don't want JJ Redick in Los Angeles doing podcasts with LeBron.
Yeah, seems like that's the way it's headed. Though.
Like who said? Like, does that sound like a good idea to anybody?
I still think it's a little weird that Draymond does a podcast like once a week in season.
This dude was on TNT with Barkley and Shaq, and they killed Draymond. I was like, wow, you got to be pretty secure.
Yeah, you got to. I don't know how he's going to do it, but I thought the Trent Dilfer hire was weird. That UAB, this one might beat it.
Although Trent's,
at least he was coaching in high school.
Yeah.
Like Doug's not. I don't know, man. Now, that being said, if anybody wants to offer me and DB head coaching jobs, let's do it.
Yeah, multitask.